Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez.
Ooh, hello.
How you doing, sir?
You made me seem spooky in that intro. Or mysterious. Mysterious? That's not the word.
Start over, take two!
Mysterious! You know, that's a big pet peeve of mine when people pronounce it mischievous. Like, there's not an extra syllable there. It's just mischievous.
Mischievous, yeah. But nearly everybody does.
I know.
I don't even think that's colloquial.
It's just what the word looks like, I guess.
I think your new nickname, though, is going to be Fishbowl Head after that introduction. You're like, I'm mysterious.
Mysterious. That's just like Stan Lee pronounced Magneto.
Magneto, yeah. And whenever an author does that, you know, you'll be reading it a certain way for like 5-10 years in your head, and then you'll finally hear the author say, was that how I was supposed to say it all along? Or does he not know?
Well, yeah. Well, I think there's a villain in the Spider-Man 60 show that's called Magneto. Did you watch that one when you did your marathon?
We did. Or no, we didn't watch that one, but Austin mentioned the Magneto thing.
Yes, that's a good one. I hope he showed you some good ones. I haven't watched that yet. I need to check on that because that was all three of you guys.
If we ever do it again, I hope you can make it for that. We've been doing those too late, so I haven't even asked you to be there because I know it's you know, stupid late at night for you.
I'll do it sometime. I'll suffer through because that show's hilarious.
Okay, pop in for one. I'll just start telling you what we're doing on those nights then. You can pop in for one. But yeah. In fact, I should use that to say, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here live if you're doing that. Thanks for watching after the fact. If you're checking this out a little bit later tonight or tomorrow or down the road, whenever. It is episode 190 of the Captain Logan Show. We've done this 190 times. We are 10 away from the 200 episode spectacular. Look forward to it. I don't know what that's going to be yet. But we'll do something real fun for that, I am sure. But yeah, so real smooth segue. We are tomorrow night. I've not announced this anywhere yet. Austin and I are going to be doing another blind set of commentaries. We're going to do another little mini marathon. And DJ, our only plan is to go find some recent episodes of Legends of Tomorrow and find out what kind of a dumpster fire that has become.
Good grief.
That's our plan. We're going to watch at least 3 of those tomorrow.
I'm not going to join you on that. Sorry.
Oh, you're totally welcome, though.
Oh, no, sir. That'll be fun to make fun of, probably. Or it's a good riffing show.
What if we find one that's good? I mean, I'm always open to that.
You could be. It's
not likely. But what if it happens? It'd be great, right? My
standards.
I would
love it if that show got good 5 seasons in, or
my standards are so on the floor. Sorry, my head on the show right now is just flying all over the screen. I'm trying to resize this because the size is wrong and it's driving me crazy.
Oh wow, your head! Oh, I was expecting like one of those screensavers where your head was just bouncing around like the Sony logo or something.
Yeah, I could do that, but it would be manual where I would just take my. I'm just imagining being moved. But it's like bouncing all over.
Yeah, at the end of their movies, just during the credits, it's just bouncing around behind the credits.
It's bouncing around in front of it, where there's like credits you can't read because it just constantly is telling you to be moved, and it keeps changing size too.
What is wrong with us tonight? We're in a mood tonight.
No, I'm excited. This is what the show should have always been like. Also, I want to re-announce for folks that haven't heard about this yet, the game show pilot that Austin and I are doing next Friday night. It's going to be real late at night. It's the only time we can shoot it. Friday night at 10 Central, just like all the Friday shows we've been doing lately and the show that we're doing tomorrow night. But we're looking for contestants for that show, and we've already had a couple takers, but we're keeping the auditions open until next Wednesday, and we'll choose. Originally, my plan was to choose 3, but we're actually just going to pick 2 contestants out of the group. And if you want to be on that show and you don't make it in, the hope is to make more of them. So we will use those audition those audition videos to help us choose contestants in future episodes as well. I'm going to post an announcement video for that Austin and I shot tomorrow. So more information about that tomorrow, but I want to officially announce the title of that show and show you guys what the what the title is going to look like, what the logo for that is. DJ didn't design this logo. This one was designed by Ty, the guy who's doing
Ty is awesome.
My comic book, and I thought I'd give him a shot at it. DJ's really super busy right now, and I wanted something a little bit more cartoony, and so I went to Ty, and he made me a fun logo for this. Let me just see if I can find it real quick. Hold on, everybody. Where is it? There it is. It's Are You Geekier Than the Day Ghost? So if you come on this game show, you're going to be going up against Austin for the chance to win prizes and possibly even cash. I'm not totally sure yet what the prizes are going to look like, so I don't want to promise anything yet, but I'm kicking a number of different things around. This is going to be some general geeky trivia, a lot of the kinds of things that we talk about here on the channel, but pop culture at large, with, of course, as always, a special emphasis on comics and superheroes, but a lot of different sorts of things can show up there as well, and I'm going to try to spread my wings a little bit and research some things that I'm not necessarily even hugely into, so that it's not just, you know, trying to pick inside of Captain Logan's brain to get trivia answers, although I am going to have it, one really self-indulgent segment in that, where I'm going to have I will tell you this, I'm going to have a category where it is just several questions about a thing I'm really into, and I'll try to make them a little bit easier than I would for people that I know are really into whatever that thing is. But anyway, Are You Geekier Than the Day Ghost? And that is going to that is going to premiere again next Friday night at 10 Central Time, and depending on how well that goes, we'll try to do another one inside of a month. I want to make that maybe a monthly or a once every couple months thing, if that does well, if anybody ends up caring. So if you like game shows, and if you just want to hang out with us, pop in that night if you happen to be available. DJ, tonight we're going to have a lead-in topic that is based on a question that somebody asked us last week that we didn't get around to answering. So I thought I would make it the main initial topic for tonight, and then after that, we're going to answer anything and everything you guys want to talk about, as usual, within reason. If you want to make sure that your question or topic or concern is discussed here on air tonight, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that will guarantee that it at least gets read and that we spend a little time on it. And if we don't have anything to say, we'll just make fun of you in the nicest way possible. That's what we'll do. That's what you are guaranteed with your super chat. You can also leave pre-written questions, and we'll do some of those as well if we have time. We already have a ridiculous amount of super chats right now. So thanks everybody who has done or ever will do that. You guys are absolutely wonderful. You help keep the train moving here on Geekvolution. You make it possible for me to claim this as my full-time job, and you guys are wonderful. So thanks a ton. Anyway, let's do the pre-written question, or let's do the lead-in topic, DJ, very quickly if we can, since we've got so many super chats. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I thought about doing this maybe even as like a separate video, but I'm not. So since we're doing this as just a lead-in topic, I don't want to spend more than 5 or 10 minutes on it, and I'm not going to break down each of these items too much, because this is all stuff that you guys have heard me talk about ad nauseum a million times. But basically, where this idea came from, I'm going to break down, or rather just list my 10 favorite superheroes, ostensibly of all time. These things are difficult to narrow down to 10, and this could change next Wednesday, whatever.
No, this is it. This is definitive. You're stuck with it.
I'm stuck with this? Okay, all right. Well, I'm confident enough if gun to my head, for all time, this is what I have to, I'm taking this to the grave. This will be on my headstone. These were Captain Logan's 10 favorite superheroes. We got a super chat last week from Nicholas Robinson, who just said, can I ask you your 10 favorite superheroes? And we said, sure. And then neither of us, because we were talking about so many other things that night, neither DJ or I saw his response after that, and he didn't leave another super chat, which is totally cool, and I wasn't expecting him to, and I might have even said, hey, you don't have to, but we just never got to it. And he, in 2 or 3 different places, left it again to make sure that I saw it and said, okay, here's what they are. How close am I? So this is what he listed. Now. He said, yeah, what happened with that, DJ?
I don't know. We got so busy.
I blame you, Pikachu.
I'm sorry.
No,
that is my fault. Sorry, Nicholas.
Totally understandable. That was a big show. There was a lot going on that night. Nick is there right now in the comments. Welcome again. Thanks for doing this. And he asked, "Was I correct?" Well, I'm going to tell you right now. So this is what he listed. He said, "So this is so self-indulgent on my part. Just people like trying to read my mind." He's basically like,
tune in for our next game show where it's you guess Captain Logan's favorite things.
Yeah, what kind of legs would that have? I give that 4 episodes at most. But if it was on the CW, it would make 10 seasons. He says, so he basically comes in and says, presumably, I've been watching you for a while. I think I know you well enough, Cap. I think I know what 10 things you would write down. And this is what he suggested. Batman. He's so off the mark.
Are we going 1 to 10? Or is this just like
no?
10?
This was in no particular order.
Okay.
But I will give you an order for mine. So he says Batman, Superman. Say again?
He's playing it safe.
He's playing it safe. Batman, Superman, Supergirl, Cassandra Cain, Martian Manhunter, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Silver Surfer, Professor X, and Wolverine. Those are the superheroes that he listed. How close do you think he is, DJ?
I missed the first one. Did he say Huntress?
He did not say Huntress. He instead went with Cassandra Cain.
Okay.
Or the second Batgirl.
And he did say Tick at the beginning, right?
He did not say Tick.
Oh,
he
man.
missed
I don't
Tick
think he's got it then. I don't think he's got it.
You don't think he's got the 10. Now, I will say, when I looked at this, I thought perhaps he meant Big 2, but didn't say Big 2. Because, again, this is so self-indulgent. If he knows me as well as he seems to from this list, I couldn't have imagined that Tick wouldn't come to his mind. However, I looked at the conversation, the discourse that was going on right before the show, where he was talking to Blue Dragon 5 and a couple other people about this, and he indeed did just completely forget about the Tick.
Oh.
So I will now reveal what my 10 are, and let me just say that it's not like I had this nailed to a wall somewhere like the 70 whatever theses or something. So I was somewhat influenced by his list in writing my list, of course, because I mean I had read it already. So this might have been slightly different if I had not looked at his list first. Like, there's no way that you're not going to be thinking about some of the items there if you've looked at it.
That's true.
But here is my list from 10 to 1. So at the end, I went with, let me make sure that I've got this right. Yeah. So at the end, I went with Supergirl. But I was back and forth between that and like 2 other things. And I'll mention a couple runners up at the end of this. Supergirl primarily for the New 52 run, which is really interesting because obviously a lot of things in 52 I didn't love and didn't care for, and I thought there were a ton of missteps there. But I thought the reinvention and overhaul of Supergirl was absolutely inspired, and that probably would not be on this list if it weren't for that run. My number 9 was Rorschach, which was also kind of a tough call. I was a little bit back and forth with that and some other things. And Rorschach is maybe a weird choice because it's arguable whether or not that's as much of a superhero as some other things on this list. You could go anti-hero with that, like you could with Punisher and some other things. But you're going to have that with anybody you pick from Watchmen. Like, in that universe, that's what superheroes are. And I've always been so fascinated by his psychology and the, like, absolute morality there, the anti-ends justifies the means thing, and comparing that to Veidt and other characters. He makes that whole book for me. He is so relentlessly entertaining, but also horrifying, which is a really fun juxtaposition. And he's just so much fun to read. Just the way Rorschach speaks.
Somebody actually at work typed out in our Slack messages "Herm" today, and I could not help but read it in the Rorschach voice. Which I don't think he meant, but how else can you read that?
Yeah, no, of course. Herm. Yeah, and then immediately you just start thinking, like, fine like this. Human bean juice. I say Herm all the time, and because of that book.
Yeah, that's why I think you are the reason, more so than the book and the movie, that I hear that word in that voice. Because you always say it in that voice.
I've ruined DJ and at least 10 other people. Wolverine. No, I'm sorry. Professor X is next. I could not help myself on that. And a couple of these, I have to say, I wouldn't have probably if it weren't for extra media versions of them, because he said I should say specifically comic book superheroes. So there were in his message, he was like he specified comic book superheroes. So somebody before the show thought I would put Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls here, but she doesn't originate in a comic book, so I couldn't do that. But anyway, Professor X, I think am as big of a fan as I am of, more because of the movies and because of why can't I think of things right now? What is wrong with me? Because of Patrick Stewart, but he is fascinating in comics because of the moral ambiguity thing. You're seeing a pattern here. Then after that is Wolverine, who is a character that I got a lot more into even in high school, and I think it was mostly with Wolverine. It was because, well, it was a couple things. It was because of the mystery with the backstory, because that was always fun to try to suss out until you got to origin. Whatever. But he's one of the only characters I've ever liked with an amnesia backstory. That's handled so much better there than it is in a lot of things, even as convoluted as that can get in stuff. And there's, of course, just kind of a style and an attitude that's a lot of fun for Wolverine, and that's kind of all his own and real distinct. But I also can't help but love Wolverine because his name is my name, too.
Whenever we go out.
I had a period in high school right after I quit shaving my head and doing the Lex Luthor thing where I grew my hair back out and bigger than it had ever been, and I actually put it in the Wolverine hairstyle right around X2. I don't know if I ever told you about that.
No, amazing. You need to do that again. That's awesome.
My hair is too curly now. It wasn't as thick and curly back then, but I can't do it now. It doesn't work. Yeah.
His hair is very curly in the first X-Men. Like, they did the real, like, he looks like Owl. It goes like shriek. Because they actually did like the Wolverine mask with his hair. It later turns into something else in the movies, but you could maybe do the X-Men 1 hair.
That's true, but I thought they got it right after that. While I had that, I was at a town once, and I was at some, I can't even remember where I was. So I was at somebody's wedding or something, and I wouldn't have worn it like that at a wedding. I don't know where I was, but anyway, some lady walks up to me.
The wedding.
Some lady walks up to me and she goes, "Are you familiar with Hugh Jackman?" I said no when I walked away.
That's an amazing compliment, though.
I just went, yeah, it was, but I just looked at her and I was like, I don't know who that is. I was a jerk face at 18, I guess. So after Wolverine is Oracle / Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. More for Oracle than Batgirl, but I love the original Batgirl as well, and I've talked about that a lot. So Nicholas was really banking that some like female Batman character or Birds of Prey type character would be there, and yes, absolutely. And I went back and forth between her and Huntress, but my favorite version of Huntress is kind of more the TV show version than anything, which is more or less an invention for television. So she is based on Earth 2 Huntress, and I love that costume and I love that character from what little I've read of it, but I haven't spent, not that there's a lot of it, but I haven't spent a lot of time with the old pre-crisis Earth 2 Huntress. So I mostly because of that, I put Batgirl over her, or in Oracle, but it was kind of difficult not to include both of them. And then after that is Spider-Man, and everybody knows I love Spider-Man. And then I put Daredevil over Spider-Man, and I don't think I would have 10 years ago, but I think with all the work I've done on the channel over the years and all the analysis we've done on Daredevil stories, I think I am at this point more of a fan of at least some of the storytelling with that character and psychology and stuff than I am with Spider-Man, but just by a smidge. And you have that problem sometimes where you have to decide if you like a character more for its rogues gallery than for itself as much. And I mean, I have that. A lot of people have that with Batman. I don't. I love the character of Batman, even despite the rogues. But of course, I think he has the best possible rogues gallery. I put Daredevil over Spider-Man, trying not to think too much about the rogues gallery, because if it's like about worlds and character dynamics and things, then Spider-Man absolutely goes over it because of Venom and some other villains that I like. And then my number 3 is Superman, and everybody knows how big of a Superman fan I am. And then the top 2, everybody should be able to guess at this point, are always switching places for me. So a lot of times people will ask me what my favorite superhero is, and I tend to go to the Tick because it's the more interesting answer. But if I'm really honest with myself, it's Batman at the top, and then Tick is number 2, most assuredly. So he got 8.
Wow.
I think. Yeah, he said Martian Manhunter. And I like Martian Manhunter, but again, more for screen stuff than comics. Yeah. And like his background is interesting. His psychology can sometimes be interesting, especially in comparing him to Superman. But I think I like him more as a foil's not the right word. Maybe kind of a foil for Superman. Than just a character on his own, and I've never really read any solo Martian Manhunters, so I didn't feel like it quite made sense to put him on the list. A lot of people thought I would say Spawn, and Spawn Year kind of killed my fandom for that character to some degree. Like, I still love the design, and I love the initial concept of that, and I like a lot of ideas and characters and stuff with that character, but I don't know who Al Simmons is at the end of the day, and neither does McFarlane, and he's lying to himself if he says he does. But that is the only character that I used to collect rabidly, that I had almost everything of, that I've sold my entire collection of. And I didn't feel like it was right to put Spawn on this list after I sold 400 issues.
Stay tuned, guys, for in 10 years when he sells his entire Batman collection.
I also seriously considered Silver Surfer, and that doesn't make the list because I have to admit that I'm more of a Galactus fan than a Silver Surfer fan. That would be a choice that would be kind of more about the Rogues Gallery, or that singular nemesis than it would be about that character. Silver Surfer is really interesting. I've not read enough to say that, I don't think. Well, the Allred stuff almost puts it over the top, actually, but that's probably like 11. But anyway, so yeah, that's my list. And sorry that we missed it and forgot to do it at the end of last show. I feel weird not having anything Turtles on that list, but I can't, in comics especially, put one at the top of the 4, so I can't just say Ninja weird. Turtles as a favorite character.
Tune in next week when we talk about our top 10 favorite superhero teams. If you ask it in a super chat. All right, speaking of super chat, should we jump in?
Yeah, we will in just a second. But because I've been talking a long time, I feel the need to put you on the spot for a minute and see if you can do at least 5.
Oh, thank you for lowering the bar.
Yeah, you don't have to do 10 because I know you haven't prepared for this, but
yeah, and I also haven't read as many comics. Obviously, Spider-Man's my number 1. He's my favorite superhero since I was a wee lad, very small, and actually have read a lot of comics of him. My number 2, actually nowadays, would probably be Daredevil.
Yeah.
I love Daredevil. I love Daredevil like just for aesthetic and like superficial reasons originally, and now that I've seen like and read some of Miller's stuff and obviously seen the TV show, it's a whole new character for me. So I love Daredevil. 3 would probably be, and I'm going to say Captain America now, but he wouldn't have been my 3, 10 years ago. The MCU completely made me fall in love with Captain America. So I know it's kind of a cheat, but he is a comic book character.
Sure, but I think it's okay if like you have that retroactively, especially, and maybe you haven't done this, but especially if that got you into the comic character and now you're reading a lot of that. Like I could see a person getting into Thor because of the MCU and then going back to Simonson and going, okay, Thor's one of my favorite characters now. Like that, sure.
Yeah, and I do want to do that with Thor because I think Thor could be one of my favorites because I love fantasy. I just haven't got into that stuff yet. I need to finally do that.
Yep.
especially I love sword sorcery specifically, so that would be really cool. For number four, I'm gonna go with Hulk. I've always been fascinated with Hulk, even since I was a little kid. I've always loved characters that turn into like an evil version of themselves. Like this is something me and you have, Cap. We love multiple personalities. That's why the Lizard is my favorite Spider-Man villain. I love Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like I love that whole dynamic. I've always loved Hulk.
I forgot Lizard was your favorite Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
The Welder is my favorite Spider-Man villain.
Oh, of course. Well, I wasn't counting him. I didn't want to be self-indulgent. And then I think for my number five, I have to go with Hawkeye. Mainly just for that Matt Fraction run that I read, and then that's what they're pulling from in the new show. Obviously, it's very different, but it's fun to see the places where it's kind of the same and the stuff that they're pulling. And now I'm excited for the new character. I hope she gets a second season.
Yeah, and I haven't finished that yet, so nobody tell me nothing. I'm still 2 episodes into that show. I got to get back to it and finish it. I keep forgetting about it for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, you got to do it before Christmas is over because it's very Christmassy.
Christmas is over
before it's too far away from Christmas.
It's not over for me though, because my whole family got sick and we couldn't travel, so we haven't seen a lot of our family, and we still have a lot of gift exchanges to do. So I have a feeling Christmas is going to go to like March for us now, which kind of sucks. DJ, thanks a lot for humoring me with that and going ahead and doing that. That is a really cool list, and I like how different it is from mine, and of course it was going to be. I'm boring mainstream guy. Like all my guys have got to be in tights and be like traditional crime fighters for the most part. Like I've never been a big like monster guy, and I appreciate Hulk and characters like that a lot more now than I ever used to. But still not enough to like collect them or read them religiously.
Yeah, man. I wish Hulk cinematically had gone a completely different direction.
Yeah.
I don't like that we have to just turn him into the third act, smash everything. Like, he's a lot more interesting than that. And I think Ang Lee was on the right track. And Ang Lee still had some of the coolest, like that desert action scene is insane and globe-trotting and awesome, but he still had some, I don't know. I wish that film had come together better so we could have kept going in that direction. I just think it wasn't all there.
I also wish he'd made it 5 years later when the CG was a little better, because his Hulk looks a little bit like he's made out of Jell-O, and he's a little too green.
Well, that is his fault, because they actually knew that. They designed him, because that's the same thing that Sonic had, the first Sonic that came out. Like, he was too blue and his eyes were too green. Like, you can't make him more colorful than any of the greens and blues around him, because that's not how light works. Like, he has to match the colors around him. But they made him that, and then Ang Lee was like, no. Or I don't know if it was Ang Lee or someone else working on the film. Like, no, he's Hulk. He has to be green. Make him greener. Turn up the saturation on the green. And they just did it. They had to. Like, the visual effects artists had to do it just because they were told to. But I think if you tone down the green, and we were a little bit farther away from like the rippling in the skin and like that we got in the 2008 version. So yeah, he's a little like, it looks like he's made of like hard foam instead of like what skin does, because we had a little bit to go in that arena. But yeah, that movie's still pretty interesting to me. I actually haven't gone back to it in a while. I should. I shouldn't be saying this if I haven't gone back to it in a while, but I enjoyed it at the time.
And as I've said a million times, and we've talked a lot about that movie, but like, I think you're right. I think he was on the right track. I think ultimately that movie kind of falls apart toward the end, because I don't know what's going on in that third act, but especially thematically and tonally, it's what I would want from a Hulk movie. For something more mainstream but still gets that character, Incredible Hulk was also on the right track. And I think a sequel to that movie with that actor, or even if you had to recast, and even if it was Ruffalo, but written that way, could have really cemented that as a great mainstream Hulk, but that still had the kind of pathos and tragedy that they were going for there. And one of the biggest crimes in the MCU, I think, was taking out the scene where he attempts suicide. And I appreciate that they canonically brought it back, because he talks about it in Avengers, and thank goodness he does, but that needed to be there.
Yeah, that is the most, I think, of all other superhero films. That's the one I want a recut of, just because there was deleted scenes and like, maybe not just a recut, it would have to be like because there's a lot of stuff that Edward Norton wanted to ad, and like he was getting on the writing, he was writing stuff too. So there could be a whole different version of that movie, especially because that movie's edited down really short. It's a very short movie, and it's edited. The pacing is really fast.
It is.
I think you could slow it down and do a whole different feel of that movie.
So real quick before we move on, DJ, I've got my comic database up here on my phone, and I just wanted to list out real quick what you would assume my 10 favorite superheroes would be just based on how many comics I own they appear in. So I'm skipping characters that don't count as superheroes when I list these out, but and not necessarily titled, but just because the way that I use, by the way, CLZ Comics, and the way this database works is it'll do a keyword search where you can organize this by how many appearances of a character you have. So even if it's not in the title, if there's a description that mentions that character and it lists out, most of these list out all the characters that are in an issue, I'll know if I have a comic that has that. And it's not perfect. There's probably a few things that are missing here and there, but it's real close. So anyway, with 19 appearances, Batman, of course, is at the top. So my comic database does know that my favorite superhero is Batman by how many of those issues I own. Second to that is Superman. And the only reason that Tick isn't that high is because that many Tick comics do not exist. So that's not possible. Third is Spider-Man. Fourth is Captain America. I own 646 appearances in issues of Captain America, and only because years ago when I was buying out collections, my wife insisted that I keep every Captain America. And I don't know why, because she's never read them. But she really wanted them in the collection. So I am a Captain America collector. I've never cracked one of those open. Like, I don't read Captain America, but I own a lot of them. I have like a long box and a half of Captain America.
I think I've only read Captain America White.
That's a good book.
Yeah.
After that is Daredevil with 563 appearances. And then it's a lot of X-Men and Fantastic Four, because I own a lot of X-Men and Fantastic Four. So it's Cyclops, Wolverine, Beast, The Thing, and Mr. Fantastic. And I didn't have any FF stuff on my list. Yeah.
You have so many Beasts.
Because he's in a lot of X-Men comics.
That's true. It's everything. It's not just Beast.
I have 420 appearances of Beast in my collection.
I love Beast. Beast would probably be on my top 10 if I had to pick an X-Men. I think he might be my favorite because he changes into a monster.
There's Connor in the comments. Hi, Connor. He says,
"Hey, Cuddy.
The Incredible Hulk is a very well-edited film." I agree.
Welcome, buddy. Good to see you.
Oh, Connor uses CLZ for movies and says he didn't know there was a comics app. Yeah, I think it started with comics. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I've used it for years, and I've tried out a couple of their other apps as well.
I need to use something for movies. I'm losing track. Like I used to know everything, but now there's so much on my mind that I'll go to the store and like, do I have this? I think I have this.
The other thing that it's
especially
nice for,
kids movies.
The other thing that's nice for it too is you could put in pictures and you can have it list specifically which editions you have. So you might know that you own that movie, but you might forget what edition you have. And if you were looking at a database, you would know for sure. Oh, okay, I have like the trimmed down version or the steelbook or the Target exclusive or whatever it is.
Yeah, I need to do that. I used to use one on my phone, a mobile app that used to keep track, but it needed to update. Like it went out of date, and then like you needed to buy the update, and I didn't buy it, and then I just stopped keeping track.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, and I've recataloged my comic collection probably 5 times with different apps. And when I was a kid, I did it pencil and paper. I had a notebook.
Hey, that's the only thing that doesn't go out of style.
I mean, it goes out of style in the sense that it's awful to keep up with, and you don't have pictures, you don't have any other information, and there's not.
It doesn't need firmware updates.
There's not any possible way to organize it by anything but the way you listed it in the first place.
That's true, unless you cut and paste it onto a new piece of paper.
And I feel like I'm listing all this stuff out. I feel like I'm just rewriting Weird Al's Albuquerque. Okay, DJ, let's go ahead and go to the Super Chats now, shall we? Let's talk about whatever you guys want to chat about.
Yes, it's an open mic night for the Super Chatters. And the first one is from...
That's what we should have called this show. If my son Mikey, when he gets a lot older, ever does his own show, he should call it Open Mic Night.
Open mic night. He's gonna be a super. Mikey's just gonna be super open about his life. He's just gonna be very vulnerable with you guys.
He just wears his emotions on his sleeves. He'll tell you how awful of a dad I was.
How he loves pulling tissues out of boxes. All right, Goofster123.
Hey, how's it going?
He pops in. He first like before I even sat down. He had a $10 super chat. So thanks so much. Hey Cap, with the bat. I won't sing it.
The Batman.
I wish they would do the stinger. I would lose it in the theater. All right.
I don't feel like that would go with the material they're making, though.
No, it wouldn't. Just have Hans Zimmer redo it like he did the Netflix theme.
It would take him like maybe an hour longer than it did the Netflix theme.
With the Batman on the horizon.
Yeah.
If you had to write a Batman story / movie, what interpretation of his origin would inspire you the most? Year 1, 0 year, Earth 1, etc.
Oh, thanks for giving me a list of possible things. You said etc., so I guess I can go to whatever. But you said year 1, Earth 1. Please excuse the crying babies in the background. We have those. You said year 1, Earth 1. What else did you say?
0 year was
0 year. Yeah.
You mentioned.
Boy, I almost just want to cop out and say Batman Begins, because that is still kind of my favorite Batman origin. As far as comic stuff goes, at least tonally, I would probably be looking more at year 1. But if I was writing my own version and I wasn't doing a straight-up origin, but I just wanted to, for myself, know what the background of that character was, and I wanted to do something kind of more updated and modern, I might be looking more at year 1 at Earth 1 than anything, actually, and borrowing some ideas and aesthetics from that, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, more than anything, I'd be likely to just do a blend of a lot of different things, because Batman's origin, just like Superman's, has been done a bazillion times. But there's kind of more area to go to with Batman. So, like, when we say origin, like, are we talking about the way his parents get killed, or are we talking about the period where he's training, or are we talking about, Mask of the Phantasm would be a big influence for me as well. The period after he gets back, where he hasn't chosen his symbol yet, and he's going out fighting crime anyway, which there's a little bit of that in Batman Begins as well. But like, there's a lot of ground to cover with the Batman origin. You're talking about 15, 20 years of history for the character. But yeah, so I would probably do a blend of a lot of different things. You know what I wouldn't do? Pearls. Again. I would do a version where she's not wearing pearls. Because nobody ever does that. She's always got pearls. But look, Frank Miller, I like you. I'm glad that all anybody ever wants to do is go back to year 1 and going back to your stuff. But, I don't know, there's other ways to do it. Maybe she's not wearing jewelry, at all.
There's lots of other jewelry.
Yeah, sure. Maybe they die at Halloween and she's wearing a dinosaur costume.
Maybe it's yeah, maybe it's just casual night at the opera. Maybe pearls aren't appropriate.
It's casual night at the opera. I mean, I feel like we could contrive a way better reason that they're walking down a dark alley. They're trick-or-treating.
Maybe she's dressed up as Zorro instead of watching it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, she can really be wearing anything. It doesn't have that much to do with the rest of the origin.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe it happens in a pool.
Busted Sim says the Captain Logan show now with babies.
Yeah,
the other day,
I was going to say that too. That was hilarious.
DJ, the other day,
baby.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Did you see it? Did you see the comment?
That's just what I think. Every time they say babies now, that's what I think of.
Well, the other day I posted several pictures of my kids on
the, I did see that. You're right. Never mind.
On the social media page on YouTube, and it was just like, this is what, an average day for me looks like. And I had some fun pictures of my kids, and somebody responded and said, they're babies.
I love that someone can just write that with a couple exclamation points, and we know exactly what they're
what they're saying.
That's the voice that we hear in our heads.
Yeah, there's not a picture, there's not a meme. We didn't have to see Super Shredder, nothing.
No, we don't need memes. Memes used to just be words. We didn't have pictures.
Look, words meme things, okay?
Oh man. TH1 gives us a super chat. This is a doozy, so I'm sorry that you have to answer this. I mean, it's a good question, but it's gonna be tough.
Oh,
It's very open question. If you could use any IP to adapt any other IP that hasn't already been done, what would it be? Examples: Muppet,
thank you.
Treasure Island. Yeah, I didn't know what he meant either until he gave that example. Great. Oh,
that's cool. You know,
question.
I appreciate you forewarning me, but the way you set that up, I thought this was going to be, like, really heady and potentially controversial or political or something.
No.
Oh, look, this is a good question, but you're going to have to work at it. And then it's innocuous but hard. So, wow.
Like this your top 75 superheroes or something.
That's putting me on the spot. Yeah, like a thing via some other thing. And obviously parody is the easiest way to do that kind of thing, right? Where it's like, the Tiny Toons did Batman in an episode with...
Tiny Toons did a Telltale Heart, which is hilarious. Did you see that one?
I mean, it's been years, but yeah.
I just watched it recently at Halloween time. That's why I was thinking about that. Sorry, I interrupted you.
And like, oh, you're fine. And like Simpsons did The Raven...
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
with James Earl Jones doing the narration. But anyway,
what's one of your favorite? Would you ever want anything to?
I'm having a hard time getting past Muppets.
Would you trust anything to mix in with Hitchhiker's Guide, or would you not just want that not even touched?
Hitchhiker's weird because I don't think. Yeah. I've said this before, but I don't think that there's like a definitive aesthetic for that. So to have some other thing, or I mean, maybe those are the kinds of things that this is easiest to do with, where it's like you take a thing that has a definitive look, of course, that's already, visual storytelling, and then you give it to something else that's a little bit more, up to your imagination, and that everybody has a sense of what it is, but you haven't seen like that definitive take yet. That's just my opinion. Maybe some people feel like the movie really nailed that, and I like that movie, but I still feel like, and I'm nervous about the Disney Plus thing, but
Ooh, I didn't know about that.
Because they're doing a series, but I don't think there has been a definitive, Hitchhiker, but I don't know what thing you'd meld it with. I've talked here and there about how I think that it and Doctor Who could easily be canonical things, and be in the same universe. But as far as a thing that could, I don't know, that you'd like meld it with, yeah, I don't know. This is tough. This is
yeah. I warned you.
This is stumping me just a little bit. And then I'm thinking about things like how Disney Plus keeps doing these Simpsons specials where they're doing, like, Star Wars stuff and Avengers stuff, and that seems ultra gimmicky to me and kind of exploitative, and I don't like it, and I wish they weren't doing it, and I haven't looked at any of that stuff. Like, that's, I don't know, that's very Family Guy. That's not the Simpsons didn't used to do that stuff.
That's true.
I don't like that they're doing that. I'm looking at the comments to cheat to see if anything else, if anybody has a brilliant idea here.
Jedi Knight says Super Smash Bros. Versus Super Smash Bros. And Oliver Twist.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, and of course everything in its dog has done Christmas Carol. I mean, if we're talking about like classic stories, I guess like really any superhero thing, you could go to a lot of Greek myths and things. Maybe I've got it. So Morrison broached this. Was it Morrison or what? No, it wasn't Morrison. It was I'm trying to remember. Moore. Alan Moore broached this in I think the one issue that he did of Spawn, where he did the several circle thing from Dante, but I would do Dante's Inferno a la Spawn.
Ooh.
That could be really cool. That's the best idea I've got in the moment. That's a tough question.
Yeah, with superheroes, it's cool because you don't have to actually adapt the story. Ooh, you could just pull in elements from that story.
Dante's Inferno done with Arkham Asylum.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Dante's Inferno done with Dante's Peak.
we've done a lot of Descent into Hell stories now with Arkham Asylum, and that's what that video game kind of is, where it's like, this is hell, and does Batman belong there? But what if you like directly or sort of loosely adapted Dante, but with Arkham Asylum? I think that's my answer.
That's pretty sweet.
I'm also trying to think of. I'm sorry, what?
I said you did it. I was proud of you. I was giving you props.
I'm also trying to think of cool things that you could do with Power Rangers. You do Mesogog from Dino Thunder with the Frankenstein story. Yeah.
You could do like a King Arthur thing where like instead of morphers they're like swords that they pull out of stones.
That's a cool idea. I just spilled beer all over everything.
They already did that. It was Lost Galaxy. Pretty good season.
Okay, I need a minute, guys. Hold on.
Oh, he's bearded himself.
Yeah, I don't know why. This last batch of these that I got, they just keep overflowing on me after I've been drinking them for a while. It's weird. But that sock is going to smell like everywhere. Beer. Let me tell you.
Bubble,
okay,
bubble, burpa-cola.
Say again?
I said double bubble burpa-cola. And all the other funny fizzy stuff that tickles your nose.
Okay, well, it might take a couple days for that smell to come out of this chair. Let's move on, shall we?
God, I was looking forward to smelling your chair when I came over, too. Reepicheap 775.
Look, if you need me to spill a bunch of Boulevard wheat all over my chair when you arrive, I'm happy to do it. I don't know why I'm doing that, but sure.
Reepicheap 775.
Hi there.
Welcome from the Narniaverse. Do you think the writing advice to avoid info dumps is good advice, or a product of modern ADD? Classics from the 19th century have a lot of info dumps.
So, in general, I think the modern convention with that is more or less correct. I like that we've gotten away from that just because, more or less, just because it's not as naturalistic, and modern, 20th, 21st century sensibilities have us wanting to relate more to our characters as opposed to things being more of just like allegories. And not to say that everything in the 19th century was just an allegory that you didn't have character-driven pieces. I don't mean that. But I don't think we were as concerned with everything feeling really like realistic and natural as far as like the way the story was presented. And so it was more accepted to have, pages and pages like in Moby Dick or something of just, dropping a bunch of information about whales on you. But even back then, a lot of people complained about that. I guess more of what I'm thinking about with info dumps is just we're not in scene when a character or a third-person narrator is just giving us the whole background of a character that somehow we're supposed to keep track of and remember. I don't think it's an ADD thing to not do that so much as just it always would have been easier to keep track of and more natural, and the conventions of earlier ages just didn't think of that. We just didn't have that. I mean, if you go back to antiquity, you had on stage the muses that would come out and kind of, sing important information that you're supposed to keep track of instead of it somehow happening naturally. I mean, a lot of this, especially in, I was talking prose a lot, but especially in visual media, we're always wrestling with how do you give an audience information that they need to have that in a book you could just give us exposition and tell us easily. And I think till the end of time, we're always going to be struggling with the best possible way to do that naturally without forced exposition in dialogue. But as far as prose goes, so getting away from, stage and screen, I think that is... I don't know, this is just my opinion, but I mean, I think we evolved that correctly. I think that was a natural thing that was kind of inevitable and was going to happen at some point. I think we err too far now in the other direction sometimes because we like to oversimplify stuff to the point where will say show don't tell as a uh, like be all end all rule that can never be broken. And rules are made to be broken, and sometimes you have to take everything case by case, and sometimes you'll come to a situation that really requires some exposition, and where the showing doesn't work and telling is absolutely necessary. One of the best things I was ever told by a writing professor in college was there is such a thing, and I've said this before, I think I've mentioned this to you guys, but there is such a thing as boring showing and fascinating telling. A lot of it is just in the way it's given to you, the way it's presented. Sometimes info dumps, not just exposition, but like sometimes you do need info dumps, and sometimes people actually do all stand around in a room and suss stuff out, and we have to allow for that sometimes. And if you're not thinking, oh, hey, this is all exposition, it means that the writer did his job. It means that simultaneously you're getting all this information that you need, but also characters are presenting it in such a natural way that you're actually not noticing that what you're getting is exposition and not the like straight up just drama that you think you're reading. This is the kind of tricking you that you want an author to be able to do.
Yeah, I think show don't tell, like I know what show don't tell means. I think show don't tell, like those words specifically, can be tricky for people when you're making movies, because you can still tell visually.
Yeah,
like it can be boring, and you're just like like you're technically showing me something because it's a visual medium, but you're still, even if no one's talking, you're basically just giving me exposition through visuals, and it's not interesting. Go ahead.
And I don't like, sorry, real quick, and I don't like that we use those terms for both prose and visual media, because show don't tell is a thing that was, and still is, of course, but that for a long time has been bandied about by writers and writing professors about prose. I'm pretty sure it started there, and what we were talking about with that is you don't want your narrator, be it first person or third person, just saying, Harry was bored. You want to show action. This is where the showing happens, where he is doing some things that tell the reader that he's bored. So the question you gotta ask yourself is, why is showing better? Why is telling bad? Well, the reason is because you want the reader to be able to do some of the legwork. You like, that is an active experience in a way that arguably visual media isn't as much. Visual media is active in a certain way. I get in trouble with this with people. They're like, oh, no, watching television or watching movies can absolutely be active. Yes, I know. But it also is a lot easier to be passive if you want to be. There's a lot more brain cells that got to be firing when you're reading a book to make sure that you're actually taking in any information at all. What I'm saying is, you can enjoy a movie really passively and let your eyes glaze over and just see pretty pictures and stuff going on. That doesn't work with a book. If you're just doing this across a white page with a bunch of words on it, you're not taking in anything. It doesn't work like that. And so show don't tell used to mean make sure that you're working in tandem with the reader to create an experience. That's what that was. If you just, so this is why I'm getting technical here, but this is why that's generally bad. Again, rules are made to be broken sometimes. But the reason Harry was bored is not as good as Harry slumped in his chair and was facepalming, is because that second thing I said, you're imagining that happening in your brain. You have to do too much work to create Harry is bored in your head, because you don't know what exactly Harry is doing. And that's the reason.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I don't think it translates as well to film, because, like, even if you actually physically see the flashback that the person is thinking about, that's still telling. That's not like, I don't know.
Because it's not. Because you're not moving the narrative forward.
We're stopping the narrative.
That's not part of the story, and so much TV falls into this trap where it goes, well, we got 45 minutes we gotta fill, and so they try to dupe you into thinking that flashbacks are storytelling. And they can be if you're telling non-linear, or if you're doing the Lost thing and telling two stories simultaneously that in some way mirror each other or parallel each other or something. But usually that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
Usually it's just information and background information, and you don't always have to see that in scene. That's not to say that, and you guys, a lot of you guys know me, I'm really anti-flashback a lot of the time, but it's not like that's always bad. Sometimes seeing the drama of that, you're, depending on what it is we're talking about, you're going to appreciate how a character feels about it more, and if it informs their motivation, it can be really useful to do that, but really sparingly, because like you said, you're stopping everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a quick thing real quick, and I want to know if you have the same thing. Anytime a movie starts with a scene, a setting the stage scene, like, I love Lord of the Rings. I hate that it starts with like a bunch of history to get you into the world. Lord of the Rings is not supposed to start there. It's supposed to start with Bilbo, and then you learn about that stuff later. If I don't care about the character yet, I always glaze over, and I never remember the stuff that happens at the beginning when they open with those like flashback info dump things at the beginning. My brain doesn't work like that. For some reason, I can never remember anything. Even if they show it visually, for some reason, if I'm not invested in the characters yet, all that stuff just goes right over my head. I don't know it's like a deficiency I have with
that.
Movies.
Is no, it's not a deficiency. Like I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of people are that way. Dare I say, I think maybe most people are that way, even if they don't realize it, because that is a commercial fear of losing an audience, of going, well, characterization is too cerebral. What people are really here for is world building. But the reason ultimately, generally speaking, you end up caring about the world is because of the Eyes-In character that you become invested in, and you learn about that world through that person. So maybe after the fact, you'll find yourself actually being as roped up or more roped up in that world than you even are in that character's story. But I'm with you. If I don't have a Neo or a Luke Skywalker to latch onto, and it's just Jupiter Ascending with characters I don't understand and don't know anything about, and that are really one-dimensional, and there's a bunch of crazy cool world building, but I don't know why I'm supposed to care about anything that's happening, it doesn't work. I dislike what you're talking about. I dislike in medias res and then jumping back even more than that.
Yeah, that's annoying too. And people are getting mad at me about talking about Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings does it better than most, but I think after Lord of the Rings did it, I think everything did it. Like, a lot of superhero movies start that way. They'll start like with this, like, the thousands of years ago. I think Eternals might even start that way. I don't know.
It does, yeah. And I don't know that most people, and I don't want to speak for everybody, obviously, but I mean, and obviously I'm just an isolated single case, but I bet you and I are not anything like alone in this. I bet the majority of people are like us, where a movie opens like that, and you feel like you're sitting in a class and you're supposed to do homework, and you're in a dark movie theater where you can't take any notes, and you're like, I'm not going to commit any of this to memory.
Yeah, that's what I do. I like lean up, I'm like, oh crap, I have to remember all this stuff, and then I don't.
It's so important that you know all, and then usually what happens is it's overcompensation. Again, it's a matter of, because it's not actually about much of the time. Sometimes it is,
especially when it's just
and that's unfortunate. But usually that's not actually there to give you information that the movie expects you to hang on to. It's overcompensation to peel the curtain back so that you know how epic the thing is, and that it's not going to be a like too small, intimate character piece. Like it doesn't want you to think that you're watching. What is that? I've reviewed it. What is that Shyamalan movie with the alien invasion that's just centered on like a family? Like a lot of those big epics, they don't want you to think that it's going to be that kind of movie. What is Signs? It's saying no, we're not Signs. We're Star Wars. But riddle me this. do the Star Wars movies need the opening crawls? How many people actually read the opening crawls? How many people actually commit those to memory and then later they go, I remember that from the opening crawl? Like, everything that's there, you're going to get later, and you're probably going to get it in such a way where you're going to remember it better. Now, I'm not complaining that the Star Wars movies have opening crawls. Those are there because they're supposed to be like film serials, and those had those. But I don't even know if Lucas cares if you read those.
No, it's just setting the stage, just getting you in the right mode.
Yeah, I think that's a lot more about mood and mode and tone and stuff. We could have done the entire show on this.
This is fascinating, yeah.
And we should move on.
All right, Thomas Ledbetter. Cap, what are some of your favorite old-fashioned / regional expressions? Oh, another fascinating topic for the two of us. I love this. He says, playing tiddlywinks, this is in parentheses, playing tiddlywinks, 6 of one, half a dozen in the other.
Yeah, I use that one a lot.
Cattywampus, etc.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Great
Put me on the spot, just having to grab them out of the ether. I think I'll have a hard time thinking of them. I use a lot of expressions like that all the time, and sometimes people will mention them or call me out on it, where it's like, wow, you never just use plain English, do you?
No, it's more fun. You got to be colorful.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a writer first, and I talk a lot like I write, so those things just tend to come to me.
It was very interesting reading your book, because I could see some of that coming through. You were getting in different heads when you wrote that book, because it's from a lot of different point of views, but I could see some of it coming through because I've listened to you for so many years.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
It was really difficult for that not to just come off like 31 superhero rewinds, and some of the reviews of my book complained that it kind of was that, and that is fair. It was I had a difficult time not having that with that book, but this is really self-indulgent. Some of my favorites are things that I accidentally came upon or like made up myself, and then I'll be like, where did that come from? It's like I don't know. Like that might be mine. I'm not sure. 8 Shades of Awful is one of my favorites. I've been using that forever. But yeah, trying to think of some good like Midwestern or Southern colloquial things.
Yeah, this is hard to think of on the spot because you just say them all the time, but you don't even notice you're saying them.
Like what's coming to me more is just like outdated slang stuff that I still use ironically because people think it's weird that I use them, and I just love them too much not to keep doing. Like I say wiggy a lot. That came from the TIG. I use boss and bossa nova. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that.
Bob's Your Uncle is a good one, Blue Dragon 5, yeah. I never think to use that.
You always say peace, I'm out every time we get off Skype?
No, I don't. All right, let's move on, shall we?
Great question, Thomas. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm sorry I don't have better answers for you right off, but I didn't have time to prepare.
You guess his top 10 favorite colloquialisms. And then we'll talk about it on the next show.
Is that the new show? Is that the new show? You guessed Captain Logan's favorite thing. Several people, by the way, at the beginning of the show when we were talking about top 10 superheroes were suggesting videos that I've made already. In case you're not aware of them, some of the things you guys asked for I've already done, and you can go look at. Somebody asked for favorite villains, which is a list I did with Eric and Dan Torrey in person when he was here way back in 2017, I think. Somebody else asked for favorite Power Rangers, and there's a father and son on that from a year or two ago, where Jason and I went through our favorites with those, and I think we did... So we actually have 2 or 3 of those episodes that we shot months ago that I still haven't posted, and one of them I think is Power Ranger villains, and should try to get that up at some point. The reason I've been dragging
Silverhorns.
Well, we didn't do monsters. We had real specific rules with that. Jason and I are in the process of trying to figure out how exactly we're going to bring that show back. We just haven't had time to shoot together because of the babies in the house and stuff. But we're talking about doing Father and Son as another live show. So when we do that, or sometime before that, we'll try to post those other episodes. But I should hurry up and get those out. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Star Wars, you brought it up. Logan Dodd. So the Book of Boba Fett introduced the Power Rangers. Aren't you excited to watch it now? And speaking of Power Rangers.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
I don't know what he means by that. I watched the first episode of Book of Boba Fett, and enjoyed it fine. I don't. I think it would sound even too negative to say I was nonplussed by it, but I don't have a lot to respond with. Like it's a fine initial foundation for that show, I suppose. And I haven't watched the next one. The thing that I was kind of most surprised by is that it's not really in that first episode carving out its own tone much. Like it feels like more Mandalorian with Boba Fett. And that's fine, I guess. I was hoping maybe the pacing would be a little bit different. Maybe it would go with a different score. Maybe it would stylistically be a little bit of a different thing. But it feels like it's more Western stuff like The Mandalorian is, but now about, like, you know, the sheriff of a town, except So, like, Mandalorian is Lone Wolf and Cub. Boba Fett is sheriff of a town, but the twist is he's not the sheriff. He is the drug lord. He's the crime lord. But he's trying to do the crime lord thing more honorably and more altruistically. So he seems more like a policeman. And it looks as good as Mandalorian. It's pretty. It's got, I guess, a nice enough theme. But again, it just sounds real derived from everything about that. Feels real derived from the material that it's spinning off from. And so what's weird about it is it's starting to feel like, DJ, we have Star Wars and then this thing called The Mandalorian, which is its own now shared universe based on Star Wars, and a lot of the Star Wars stuff is canonical with it, but it has its own tone, so it feels like its own thing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You would hope that each of those shows would feel like its own thing and not. But that's what happens when something gets really popular, I guess. So real quick,
I imagine that some of the other ones will, but this is still the same showrunners, and I imagine that's a lot of the reason. Like when the Obi-Wan Kenobi show finally drops, I would be really surprised if it was paced the same way and felt like a spin-off of Mando.
So we are, as usual, living under a rock. This is apparently all over the internet. Like, everyone's making fun of a character that looks like a Power Ranger or seems like a Power Ranger.
Bob the Hun says the Power Rangers comment is a jab at the show's aesthetic.
Yeah, there's articles and videos about it and memes and stuff.
There are some images that look like Power Rangers to some people. In the first episode or just in the second one? Because I didn't have that with anything there, but...
Yeah, someone else said there's like a biker gang that rides like colorful Power Ranger-looking bikes.
Oh. Okay. Maybe I haven't gotten to that yet. Or maybe I didn't notice it. But I compare Power Rangers to everything. So you'd think if that happened, the first thing I would do is be, oh, it's Power Rangers!
Yeah, that was Reap It Cheap. And then Blue Dragon 5 said there's a Power Ranger-esque character introduced in episode 3.
Okay. Oh, are we already 3 episodes into that show? I can't even keep up with everything anymore.
Can't even keep up with one streaming service. Disney can't even keep up with Disney. It's nonsense. So much.
I can't even keep up with Geevolution. I don't know what we're putting out.
Hey, did you hear about the game show? Starting soon?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've heard something about that.
Yeah, maybe later or earlier in the evening. Yeah, so this is apparently a big thing, and we're supposed to be the Power Ranger guys, and we failed.
Yeah, I'm hearing that people are giving that show some mixed reactions, and I wonder if some of that has to do with creating a new canon now for Boba Fett, who was... And obviously we were already doing that in The Mandalorian, but we've now in flashback shown like how he gets out of the Sarlacc pit and what some of the things that happen up to when we saw him last in The Mandalorian. And I wonder if there aren't, because I haven't talked to anybody about this, I wonder if there aren't some Star Wars fans that really miss the EU and the way he was handled there, and if some people aren't caring for some of the differences in his origin and stuff, and if that has anything to do with it.
Those do look like Power Ranger bikes. They're like speeders, but they're like bright green, bright red, bright blue, and bright yellow.
You know what I love about that? and I know that that's going to be, I mean, I don't know if that's getting multiple seasons or not, but, I mean, that'll be a miniseries that gets, what, like 8-10 episodes or whatever it is. But what's hilarious about that is, you know, DJ, from all the Power Rangers we've watched, that episode 3 tends to be when you introduce the cycles,
and they
and
never
then
come back.
they use them once or twice, and then they hardly ever use them again.
The one season that uses the cycles a lot is Ninja Storm, because that's like a BMX season. So
Okay.
they ride the cyclone cycles or something like all the time. It's pretty cool.
And they always make a big deal out of them, where they get all these crazy camera angles.
shark
like,
cycles
The
are
shark
cool.
cycles. Yeah,
Well,
but
because that was a season 3 invention that we had, and they probably didn't even work.
and they look
probably couldn't
terrible,
use them again.
but they are shot like they're supposed to be the coolest freaking thing.
And they make no sense because none of them are sharks, and there's not like a ninjetti sword that's a shark in that season. Like,
No.
if you're gonna make it an animal and all of the other Zords are animals, it should. I don't know. I guess that was before we were doing Zords that weren't part of a Ranger. Like in Wild Force, we really started getting like more and more just random Zords, and that carried into Dino Thunder and stuff.
And it's not like yeah, that's true, but like it's not like it. Well, and then there we
But we
get
do
power
have
tool
Tor,
Zords, but we just don't talk about them like that.
Yeah, we had Titanus, we had Tor, we had different.
Yeah,
There could have been a Shark Zord that bequeathed all the.
but
shark
a lot of
cycles.
that stuff still felt like prehistoric creatures.
Yeah. Well, there's
You
a fan
know?
film where there's a Titanus Ranger that's like light blue, and it's really cool. But I mean, it's not
That's-
a great fan film, but it's a cool idea.
That's a cool idea, though. Yeah. Now we're just in Power Rangers, but I had this thought the other day because I was watching some Dino Thunder with one of my kids, and it occurred to me that was, I think, one of, if not the last season that really did carrier Zords. Like, we don't really do that so much anymore. Maybe there was another one later. I'm not sure. But
Yeah, the pyramid. I don't think the pyramid. Did they ever get in the pyramidus, or was it just a big?
yeah, but I mean that's
battle
all the way
royale?
back to Zeo. I'm talking about Dino Thunder, where
Oh, okay.
where the
The Brachiozord.
although I guess it's almost as weird there now that I'm thinking about it. The point I was going to make is that isn't it weird that Tommy, who was supposed to be like the coolest ranger who ever lived and always gets the most awesome toys and everything, had the carrier Zord? He had the Zord that the Megazord and everything else gets inside of? Like, Tommy doesn't get a cool, like, he had the Dragon Zord. And his sword in Dino Thunder is just a carrier Zord. But then I guess I guess Zeo Gold also sort of had that, but the pyramid is badass. And also, it was the finisher thing. It was like, why don't we lead with that? We just shoot out a big lightning bolt from the top of a pyramid, kill everything.
Yeah, but Pyramidus is the most hilarious Zord transformation because his arms just literally go, and he's just a pyramid standing there with arms.
Why does he?
So-
There's no reason that I miss talking about this with you, by the way. There's no reason that Pyramidus needs arms or a head or anything. Like, it should just be a and here's what's weird about it too. Pyramidus has way too many forms because it's a spaceship first.
Hey, well, it should have 3 forms because it's from Triforia.
Oh.
It has the spaceship, it has the pyramid, and then it has the man.
And then if it has a crisis of character and all 3 of those things all come apart, then you just have all 3 of them and they can't come together to make Pyramidus anymore.
No, you are right on the money because if Tommy, it's so telling where Tommy was in the zeitgeist at that time. He wasn't as big as he is, and he got to be the mentor figure.
Yeah.
If that season was made today, he would have been the White Ranger, and he would have been the evil one.
Because of Draken and stuff.
Yeah, and he would have got the coolest sword. He would have got the coolest costume.
That's a
he would have been.
great point.
So,
Good call.
we're lucky that we got Dino Thunder the way we did.
I never thought of that. Yeah, you're totally right about that. But he still got the coolest costume. Because Dino Black is boss.
Black and gold. You just like black and gold. Any black and gold ranger is your number one.
Oh, you found me out. Yeah, I also like this, though. A lot of it just has to do with this. And Brachio had a cool staff.
Yeah, that popped up, yeah.
I wish I had it. I wish they'd make an adult collector that thing, man, because I would buy that on the spot.
Double fifth in black and gold staffs.
Oh, man, that would be a big deal. So, I've told you about this, but I don't know how many other people know about this. Lightning Collection is doing a full-size Zed helmet. And
Yes.
by helmet, I mean it's Zed's head, and you can put it on your head. And it has a voice synthesizer that ostensibly is supposed to make you sound like Zed, but I will be shocked if it works very well.
It makes you sound like the Zed in the crossover that just happened.
You know what? After I finally watched that whole episode, it's better than I thought it was.
Okay, because you
But
came
it's-
down hard on his
I did.
voice.
I had only seen clips, and then when I watched the whole episode, I was like, he's not bad. I still wish it was the guy from Battle for the Grid, because he doesn't sound anything like Axelrod, but he's hilarious.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
anyway,
cool.
I'm getting that when it comes out. And I can't tell if that dropped and sold out real fast or if it's not releasing until March. But every website that I've looked at trying to get my hands on it says that they're not getting product until March. But when I get that, depending on what the voice synthesizer does, I want to do a show with it.
Yeah, he's definitely going to do an entire show with it because people love when we do voice modulators on our shows.
It's always a fan favorite thing here on the channel. Yeah, it's always
I love
successful.
that. We're just going to steer into that. Venom's going to guest on every episode of Marvel Mania Phase 3.
I had an idea the other day because we were talking about if and when we get to Phase 3 for Marvel Mania, bringing in the Netflix shows, or not the Netflix shows, the Disney Plus shows,
Yeah.
and we're like, and now it's like, well, they're not as good as we were kind of hoping some of them were, and I don't totally know if we're going to do that now.
So many of them, too.
But then I also had this idea that it might be fun to do an interim one and do Netflix Marvel Mania, and then I'm like, too much of that is really bad, though. Like, if you did it with the good seasons, it could be really fun, but, you know, if...
Yeah, I would do Daredevil 1 and 2, Jessica Jones 1, and Luke Cage 1, but then after that, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Daredevil 3. I know people say it's great.
I think, yeah, and I mean, I would do all of Daredevil if we ever did that, and, like, Punisher 1 is slow, it's good, but I don't know that I would have enough to say talking through that whole thing. And
Yeah, that's true. I haven't seen that either. I could not get the will after Defenders. Like after Iron Fist and Defenders right in a row, I couldn't get back into it.
Well, I was going to say, as not good as Defenders is, I think it would be at least riffable to some degree. Like, I think that show we could kind of get away with doing in a way that it would be really hard to do Iron Fist or Jessica Jones.
What do you say
2.
about Iron Fist?
Yeah.
We just play chess or something else.
It's a notion. As they're starting to trickle in some of those actors, and we're wondering more and more if any of that is still going to count in continuity and whatever. It's making me want to go back and do more content on the Netflix shows.
Yeah. People have been watching it, talking about Daredevil in the Discord. They've been going back through it, and it's getting me wanting to watch it again.
Cool. DJ, we are at 20 minutes after the hour already somehow. How many super chats do we have left?
We have got 1, 2, 3 from Super Billy, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, not bad at all. I would, if we can, like to take just a quick 2-3 minute break.
Sure.
Let's do it. And then we will come right back and start knocking down the super chats again.
Let's do it.
Folks, we'll see you in just a minute. And we're back. DJ, real quick, I want to tackle something that HB Haga just asked about. He says, hey Cap, are you aware of the Power Rangers RPG coming out soon? I am, and let me talk about that for just a second. So there is a tabletop role-playing game that Renegade is putting out. Renegade being the company that has put out the Heroes of the Grid board game, which is one of my favorite things in the world. I'm all in on that. I bought everything. Haven't had time to paint in 6 months. It's driving me nuts. There's so many figures I've gotten recently, DJ, that I don't know when I'm ever going to get to paint. But they've also put out the deck building game, which I have both boxes of now, but haven't had a chance to start playing yet because I have twin girls and I haven't had time to play hardly anything lately. Anyway, so the RPG PDF just came out, I think, yesterday, and they're going to put out the hardcover soon. I'm not sure when exactly that's supposed to drop, but I haven't pre-ordered it because I was a little on the fence about it. I wanted to hear about it first. I'm not a pencil and paper guy, and I haven't ever really played any of that stuff. I think I did like a D&D game with a group like one time, but I don't really remember it. And I'm hearing some negative things about it so far. And there's been Renegade's really good at talking to their audience, and they've got really good customer service, and I love that company to death. So very quickly after some of the complaints, they addressed them and said that a lot of things that people feel like are missing, they're going to do updates for and things. But it sounds like it's not super accessible, especially the people that with just what they have so far in that PDF and in the hardcovers. That it's not super accessible, especially to people that haven't done a lot of pencil and paper RPG, and I'm afraid if I get it, I'm going to be completely lost. I heard people in the Renegade Power Rangers Facebook group, which I'm a big contributor with, talking about how they've gone through that book like several times, and people that are big into the RPG scene and don't understand how a lot of just basic normal things work in it. So I'm probably going to wait to pull the trigger on it until some things are updated and I'm hearing more positive stuff about it. I was ready to just drop the money and pick up the hardcover and get rolling on it, and there's some guys in the Patreon Discord that want to play it with me, but if I can't penetrate it and figure out how, because I want to run a game, and if I can't figure out how the thing works, being such a noob to RPGs, I don't really want to drop the money for it and then not be able to play it. So
yeah, that's kind of cool though that it's not just like an easy anyone can pick it. It's like a legit RPG that they put a lot of time into, it sounds like.
Yeah, and people are saying that the system is really good. It's called Essence 20 or something. People are saying the system is really good, but there's not enough stuff for creating certain kinds of characters people are complaining about, and that it's based too much in colors, so like you're kind of stuck doing more Mighty Morphin than a lot of people want to do, even though they made a big deal out of how it would be really easy to adapt to other seasons. But apparently a lot of the stats are based on what color you pick, and they don't have enough colors apart from the originals. So that's a problem. But the thing that's putting me off most to it is complaints I'm hearing, and again, I've not looked at it. This isn't coming from anything but other folks that have played it apparently, or have read through the book anyway. It sounds like the people making the book, as opposed to Jonathan Ying doing Heroes of the Grid, and the guys, Matt, what's his face? I forget his last name, working on the deck builder, maybe not really Power Ranger fans, maybe didn't spend enough time doing their homework and learning the material. Apparently, there's weird mistakes in the book, DJ, like calling Tangas Kangas and stuff like that. I mean, I'm leery of it if they don't even know the mythology.
Well, deep in the 100 Acre Wood.
Like, okay, maybe that's a single typo, but people were complaining about other things besides that. That like maybe
It's particularly funny because Tangas also go by Tengu warriors in the movie, so I would accept that mistake. But
Kangas. Isn't that weird?
That's pretty funny.
So I hope it turns out that it's really good and that they can, iron out some of the confusing stuff at the point that I finally get around to playing it. But I'm gonna hold off for a little bit. I think. I don't think I'm that's gonna sell out. I'm gonna have too hard of a time getting my hands on it. Because if I get into that game, I don't know if that I'll go as far as with Heroes of the Grid and buy everything. They're going to do their own miniatures for that game, and I'm not buying more miniatures. Like,
You've got enough miniatures to...
I'm out with that. Apparently, they felt the need to make smaller ones because the Heroes of the Grid figures are too large for regular role-playing maps. And they're not the right size for maps. So they've said the monsters are fine. You could use those figures, but Rangers, you're gonna probably want the smaller scale that they're putting out. And I'm not doing that. I don't know that you even necessarily have to have a physical component, to pencil and paper RPG. Some people do, some people don't. And I'm sure you can play without it. And I would be likely playing remotely with people on the Discord and stuff, and wouldn't really need that anyway. But if I get into that game and like it a lot, I probably am gonna want the different sets of colored dice. That's a thing that I've gotten into with Heroes of the Grid, and it's just too much fun picking a Ranger color than having the dice, the right number of dice for your Ranger color. I got so excited when they finally added orange and purple and silver dice to Heroes of the Grid. I have like 10 dice colors for that game, and it's unnecessary, but it's awesome.
That's amazing. Did you ever have hero clicks? Did you ever have any hero clicks back in the day?
I did, but I never learned how to play.
Same. I never played either. I just like, look at this little Hulk, and look at this little Spider-Man.
At one point, I got somebody's whole collection.
Wow.
And I've sold it since then because I never learned to play, but I had like 150 of them. And
that's awesome. They were pretty detailed. They look good.
Would have liked to have gotten into that, but...
Yeah, I always wanted to, too. I've never been a kind of a gamer, but yeah, those are cool. All right. So Super Gilly, that's his...
It's like Tangas. We don't know how they work. We don't know what that is.
Yeah, John Kelling said maybe they're Kanga Warriors because the movie was filmed in Australia.
Sure.
Maybe so.
It's a weird choice given that they don't have the movie rights as far as I understand it. And
that's a bummer. It's weird that those rights are up for grabs. It's not like they release that movie like every year, like keep releasing it. It's like they're not doing anything with it. I don't understand.
Is it in the Disney vault? Does Fox own it?
Oh my gosh. I'm already weirded out by the things that Disney has now, all the Fox stuff. That would be too far. Well, I guess not, because Disney owned Power Rangers for a little bit.
That is a bridge too far. Anyway, moving right along.
All right, Super Billy gives us a two-parter here. I don't mean to be presumptuous.
Should we do like a to be continued? Should we answer the first part and then do like 3 more and then do the second part? And now the conclusion.
Okay. This is actually kind of sad. He says,
"Oh, sorry, I'm joking.
I don't mean to be presumptuous, but recently Mr. Nielsen stepped down from the internet for personal reasons. Seeing as you guys actually know him, I'd appreciate it if you could apologize on my behalf for the major role I played in a Discord conversation degenerating in an awkward disaster." So I did see this in the Discord when Connor announced that he was just getting some time away from the internet for a while. Super Billy apologized. Apparently there was like a big awkward, I wouldn't say argument, but just like an awkward conversation that went on before that. I don't think that has anything to do with it, Super Billy. I think you are totally cool, but he is here tonight, or if not, we can.
He was earlier, yeah.
Yeah, we can apologize for you, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's mad at you, Super Billy. But thanks so much for the super chat.
Thanks for saying that. And thanks for the super chat. Yeah.
And we'll definitely let him know. And then he has one more unrelated, $5. This is his top 10. Super number 1. Yeah, I'll go 10 to 1. He put him 1 to 10, but I'm going to do a little more dramatic. 10, Daredevil. 9, Iron Man. 8, Wolverine. 7, Wonder Woman. 6, Plastic Man.
That would be on my wife's list. Yeah.
That's a cool choice. 5, Captain Marvel / Shazam. Number 4, The Flash. 3, Spider-Man. 2 Batman and 1 Superman. Look, his top 3 are Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. That's a pretty big. Those are heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Top 3.
So half of mine.
Yeah, a lot of your picks on there.
But those
great
are all
to
great.
see Wonder Woman on there. That's great.
Yeah, and Shazam too. That's cool.
Yeah, good list, man. I like the Daredevil representation.
John Kelly. How about taking another crack at it? We've gotten on this train before, where all DJ and I do is quote Ivan Ooze for like half an hour.
Yeah, I mean the Marvel or the Morphin Mania. We got so many shows. The Morphin Mania we did on that movie was one of the most fun videos we did. That was great.
That was a ton of fun. Yeah,
great commentary.
That's the 3rd time I've done a commentary on that movie, and I will happily do it again. Like I never get tired about talking over. I never get tired of talking over that movie. The Spanish Inquisition, the Brady Bunch reunion.
Teenagers. I love. I had a week back. About a week back. I just love that character. What is that character doing in the movie?
Why is it there?
Why is there a pig man? What happened to? Well, I guess Rito wasn't there yet. It would have been Squat and Babu.
Was it Squat and Babu? They got sandwiched again. Like Finster's nowhere to be found.
Nope, no more Finster. None of the monsters from season 1 except for Goldar.
Well, and even when they go up into the Moon Palace, it's still 4 people live there. Apparently.
Yeah, Squat, Babu, and Finster are all on lunch break. Dave Atkins, $2 super chat. Hey Cap! Exclamation point. All caps.
All me's.
Thoughts and hopes for Sonic Frontiers?
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to get my hopes up too much about any 3D Sonic ever, because that teaser absolutely looks like what everybody is kind of afraid that game is going to be, which is just Sonic Breath of the Wild. And this would not be the first time that Sonic just ripped off another game and threw Sonic in it. Sonic, what is that game? There's a game, what is it? It's just not coming to me right off, but I've played some of it, that was just Mario Galaxy, but with Sonic. And this has happened with that. And then there's like a Sonic RPG that was kind of just ripping off some like Final Fantasy and some major RPGs. Apparently, I've never played that. God, that's gonna bug me. What is the name of that game? I was just playing it a couple weeks ago. It'll come to me. Anyway, I might be in the minority on this because I've talked to some people that are like, God, why do we have to have an open world Sonic game? I've always wanted open world Sonic. I've always thought that could be really cool. Like, imagine a game that is so huge and sprawling that even moving that fast, it would take you 7 or 8 hours to get from one side of the map to the other. I mean, that could be really, really neat. And Is it
side-scrolling?
No, it's 3D Sonic. I mean,
okay, it's 3D Sonic.
It looks like Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like, it looks like they just ripped that, because that's open world Zelda. And it looks like they just ripped that off and threw Sonic in it. The Lost World. Thank you very much, Greg. I just could not remember it. And if it's not too fantasy-esque, I will be excited about it. Having said that, it looks like it's just gonna be kind of Zelda iconography with Sonic thrown in it. And I hope that's not the case. But I haven't seen anything past that initial teaser. I haven't looked any deeper into it. If anything else is dropped, that's all I've seen. Graphically, it looks really pretty. But yeah, I always thought that could be super cool. What I want it to be is a bunch of different regions that borrow from old Zone ideas. So you'd have like a lava section, and you'd have a desert section, et cetera, et cetera. And you'd have like a death egg that you could get up to at some point, whatever. I want it to be a Sonic game, and I've always thought that, obviously I'm sure they'll do like a Green Hill section, but after that I hope they do some other stuff. Oh, there's like a mushroom hill where you're like bouncing off of mushrooms, like in Sonic and Knuckles. And I don't need everything to be deriving from the old Genesis games, of course, but there's a lot of stuff you could do with Sonic Adventure and areas from other 3D Sonic games as well. I'm real open-minded about this not being a 3D Sonic guy. I just want it to not be Zelda but Sonic. Having said that, like, I don't want it to be too puzzly. I want it to be a little bit more action driven than that. But But having said that, if the game is super playable and it's kind of like Sonic Lost World was, where, yeah, it kind of is just ripping off that game, but it's still really playable, it's still a fun game, then I'll still be somewhat happy with it. But I'll be a little bit disappointed that it doesn't feel enough like a Sonic thing. But yeah, I've dreamed of open world Sonic forever.
That's fascinating to me. I don't even know if you know this, but 3D Sonic is my Sonic. Well, specifically Sonic Adventure Battle 2 or Sonic Adventure 2 is like I played the bejesus out of that game with my friends when I was a kid. Like, oh, I was going so fast through those, like, if you get really good at that game, it's really fun because of how fast you can go through those 3D environments. So that sounds fun to me. But I don't know. I mean, open world would probably not be as fast paced because it's massive. But yeah, that's interesting to me.
I think it could be more so. And the reason I say that is if you can go anywhere you want to, you might have more freedom to go as fast as you want to and not be slowed down by as much stuff. Like, obviously, you get to certain missions and things and you'd have to slow yourself down, but if the world is open and sprawling enough, you might be able to just do a lot of exploring as fast as you can run, which is one of the reasons I think an open world Sonic game makes a lot of sense. But also, it has the potential to give me what I've always wanted for a 3D Sonic game, which is a game that isn't constantly interrupted every 5 minutes by crappy cutscenes with bad voice acting. And I'm sure it'll still have some of that, but if it's open world, I may not have to sit through as much of that stuff, and that's a lot of what repels me with a lot of 3D Sonic games.
Yeah, that's true. And I never played the story on Sonic Adventure 2. I just, like, raced my friends, which was really fun. So
oh, okay.
I probably don't even know what you're talking about, but
yeah, I mean, if you never played through the story mode.
Yeah.
And it might not be as redundant because, if it's open-ended and you don't have to just keep going back into the same level over and over again to, like, finish the level and then go, use a metal detector to find things and then collect enough rings or whatever, and just all this busy work stuff that you have to do to finally be able to progress. I think it's likely to, just by the nature of open world, have to take away a lot of the crap I don't like about 3D Sonic. That's my hope.
Cool. I hope you love it, man. I hope it's great for you. The next super chat is incredible.
I don't trust it, but I hope so.
I don't know if you saw this coming in, but Matthew,
I did. Yeah,
dropped a $50 super chat for it.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much.
What can we do for you?
And it's not that long, so I'm assuming he had to, like, manually bump it up. Because I don't even think you can write enough characters to get it that high. So thank you so much.
You can't manually bump it up. That was really nice of you. I hope it wasn't a mistake. I hope you didn't.
But he says, "Hey Cap, what are your thoughts on the original 1968 Planet of the Apes film? I often go back and forth on it. Sometimes I really like it, and other times, as a black person, the allegory makes me uncomfortable.
Oh.
Glad you and the family are feeling better."
Yeah, thanks so much. Cool question. I need to at some point do a commentary on that, or sit down and just, have a, do some analysis and discussion with somebody on that. I talked about it briefly last year in the video I did. I want to say in the video I did with Connor with our favorite films by genre. I want to say when we got to the science fiction film section, I talked about Planet of the Apes for a little bit. I've not seen it in a good long time, and I've only, I think, watched it once, which is crazy because I didn't grow up with that movie, and
I've only seen it twice, but I loved it both times. I showed it to my wife.
It really stuck with me. I think the only reason I haven't gone back and watched it again is because it kind of stayed in my brain. But I don't think I would appreciate the newer franchise anything like as much if I hadn't watched it first, because of the way it runs with some of those ideas and really appreciates and understands that movie. And I watched it the same day or the day before I went to the theater to see the second one of those. So I did this kind of marathon thing when that came out, where I watched the original Planet of the Apes, and then I watched Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and then I went to the theater and saw Dawn, which I think is one of the. I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is one of the best science fiction films ever made. But obviously Planet of the Apes is in the top 2 or 3, and yeah, I mean, I don't want to get, try to get deep into heady analysis and stuff here with that. The thing that I was most impressed with it was the ending of that movie with the Statue of Liberty and everything is so in the culture and the zeitgeist and everything. You can't possibly go to that movie for the first time and not know how it ends. And yet I was so sucked in and captivated by the way it was handling its thematic stuff, obviously, particularly inequality and all of that. Anyway, I'm having a hard time not just getting into analysis territory. That I momentarily kind of forgot about that ending. And I got there, and of course, I knew where we were and what it meant and everything, but it was still about as impactful as I think it would have been had I not known it was coming. It's just that well executed, and it's a big budget feature Twilight Zone episode. I mean, it's one of the best Twilight Zone episodes that wasn't a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I had the exact same thing I had with Bates Motel. I had with that movie, or Psycho in that movie. I watched the first 2 seasons of Bates Motel, and then I watched Psycho. I watched the first 2 Planet of the Apes movies, and then I went back and watched the original.
The original, yeah.
So because I saw the first 2 the first 2 new ones, I knew that it was Earth, and I knew the twist mentally, but like you said, I wasn't even thinking about it. And I had the same thing with Psycho, because I had seen the first 2 seasons of Bates Motel. I kind of knew what was going to happen, but I still absolutely love both of those 2 movies. Like the 60s is one of my, I think 30s and 60s are my 2 favorite decades of film. I love the 60s. 60s are awesome, and both of those are 2 of my favorite films, Psycho and Planet of the Apes.
But yeah, thanks so much for the super chat. I will definitely down the road try to do something on that. I've always wanted to, just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, and I understand if the social commentary, or like you called it in your super chat, the allegory of a film, I think it's done really, really well. And I think if it makes you uncomfortable, I think it is done really well.
Yeah.
But that's unfortunate if it hits too close to home for you, obviously. But I think that means that the film is doing. It's supposed to make people. It's supposed to make people uncomfortable. It's supposed to bring it. That's what social commentary is supposed to do. So, I'm glad that it was effective in that way, even though it's unfortunate. And then the last super chat we have is
in almost an Orwellian way, right?
Yeah. Well, and what that's cool, because it's still the same kind of thing. Like at the end, he's like, "You burned it up." Like it's the classic sci-fi thing that we blow ourselves up in the end, but it's a completely different take on it. And there's other social commentary. It's not just that standard thing, which is cool. But we got 1 super chat left from Chewbacca's lover. $5 from Super Chewbacca's lover. He says EU Star Wars fans tend to not like Disney Boba Fett or any of Disney versions of events or Star Wars characters. Yeah. Same with Han Solo. Feels watered down.
And that's how I figured folks would respond to some of the Boba Fett origin stuff they were doing in that first episode. But I wasn't totally sure, because I haven't read a lot of EU Boba Fett stuff, and I don't know how it's handled there. I just think it's really interesting that we live in a world where everybody knows now what a Mandalorian is, and that's just a common word now, and B, that after a lot of stuff with the Mandalorians, apparently, I just know this from osmosis, because I haven't watched very much of the Clone Wars show, but apparently that show kind of decanonicized and changed a lot of things about the Mandalorians, and people felt like those weren't, this is what I remember anyway, that those weren't really Mandalorians, and now we have a whole show about that lore and stuff, and I wonder how much of that goes back to the old EU and tries to merge that and meld it with what apparently was done in the Clone Wars show, or if it's wholesale doing whatever Clone Wars was doing, and how EU fans feel about all of that stuff. But it's just kind of interesting that some of that stuff apparently got sort of decanonicized even before we decanonicized all of the EU when Disney took over. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny because like it's kind of like comics, right? Where it's like, or with superheroes, where it's like, oh, all the normies are now finally finding out about the characters that we've already known about for years and years. So like I would be a normie and for Star Wars EU because I don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple more from Bob the Hun here. Sorry, Bob the
Okay,
Hun.
cool.
I missed over these somehow. That's my fault.
Oh, I'm
Bob
glad
the
you
Hun.
found them, though. That's good.
Yeah, they're right here. Thoughts on the rumors about Jim Carrey Riddler and Danny DeVito Penguin in Flash? Jack Nicholson is obviously too old, but anything is possible.
Read the first part of that again. Just
Thoughts on rumors about Jim Carrey
rumors.
Riddler and Danny DeVito? Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me a ton if that kind of thing happened after Spider-Man. I mean, I wonder if there might be some reshoots and if some things might get forced into Flash after that movie made $60 gazillion dollars.
You say Jack Nicholson's too old. Danny DeVito is also a 70-year-old man, but the thing is, he would totally do it.
Well, and the other thing is he's still working. Like
Yeah.
Nicholson's retired, so I don't know if it has as much to do with the fact that he's too old as he would never do it.
Yeah,
But
DeVito's still a regular on a sitcom. He would absolutely love to get in that makeup and be.
well, I was going to say, I mean, the only one of the three, if we're just going to talk about superficially the look of those actors and those characters, the only one that you'd really have to worry about possibly looking too old is Jim Carrey, because the other two would be so caked up in makeup. It wouldn't be really that hard to make them look more or less the way they did before. It would really be more just about like what they sounded like and how they moved. You had that with, a couple of villains in Spider-Man too. But, Jim Carrey, you'd probably have to do the de-aging makeup, or you would just say, well, actually, you wouldn't either, because what am I talking about? Because you have an old Batman. So, I mean, the nice thing is, with that, they're just straight up saying all these characters aged and are the age they are now. So, I guess you wouldn't have to do anything. The only reason anybody would be too old is if they just physically couldn't do the job. Like, you could even have I don't know why you would. You could have a Joker on crutches or a wheelchair if you really wanted to. But he's dead, too, so...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Joker and Penguin died. So you'd have to do the thing from Spider-Man.
The only character you could really do is Jim Carrey. Is Jim Carrey's Riddler, and he's like a crazed lunatic. I mean, he always was, but like by the end of that movie, I'm Batman. Like by the end of that movie, he's not even lucid. So I don't know. I would, of course, be concerned that that would just be gimmicky, pandery fan service stuff, and I would have a hard time getting excited about their doing that. The nice thing, as opposed to Spider-Man and MCU, is that if we went back to some of those characters, it would be multiverse with other movies that are not afraid to do those characters, even though it's in a different continuity that... DJ, I think, and I are in agreement that, fingers crossed, they don't ever really cross into DCEU. I don't really want that with the Batman, having not seen it yet. Yeah. But at least if they brought in Danny DeVito's Penguin, you couldn't say, well, see, now they'll never get a Penguin, because we're getting one in, like, 2 months. So that's good. And we just got a Joker a couple of years ago, and... and also that movie's doing a Riddler too, so you don't have to worry that those characters are never going to be used, because we have the definitive, all stop, be all end all versions of them.
Yeah, but that was already Marvel's strategy when they started the MCU Spider-Man.
It was.
Like, we don't want to do those anyway. That was from the onset, but
I'm just saying the pressure's off. Like, even if it was absolutely horrible, you wouldn't have to worry about it ruining anything else.
Yeah.
So that's good, but I would be, I don't know, I would be indifferent to it until I saw it.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I mean,
it is sad for Flash fans that they can't just get a Flash movie. Like or hate Ezra Miller, that like we gotta shoehorn in Supergirl. And isn't it really bizarre that we're doing the multiverse thing? We're doing at least one old franchise just like Spider-Man did, but then we're also doing the DCEU's version of Supergirl, like all at the same time.
Yeah, that's a lot. They're cramming a lot into there.
It's a lot. That's a lot, especially in a movie just called Flash.
Yeah, Flash. Flash didn't even get 2 of his own movies before they crammed everything into a third one. It's his first one. Oh, man.
But you know what? That's fine, because at least it doesn't have words like Emancipation or whatever. What is that word? What is that title? I can never remember it anymore. I've made fun of
Yeah,
it
you're
for
right.
so
The
long.
Emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
What?
Fantabulous.
Yeah, the Fantabulous, yeah. At least it doesn't have the words Fantabulous or Emancipation.
The ginormous crossover of one Flash. I almost said Flash Thompson. That's a different character.
Of one Flash, Batman, Supergirl, Joker, Riddler, and Penguin.
Oh, man. That's
Plus a secret after credits scene with Lobo.
So if that... I'm not saying this is going to happen because it probably won't. Because
I'm also not saying that's going to happen. That was a joke.
If the Flash bombs, and I'm not saying it's going to, I'm sure people want to see it just for the cameos and stuff, but like...
I don't think it'll bomb. I don't think it'll do what they think it's going to do.
Yeah, but if it did bomb, would that be enough for people to be like, oh, maybe multiverse is not the key to everything? Or do you think Spider-Man will be enough for them still to try it? Everybody?
No, it won't. What that will do is it'll have people going, see, why'd you shove Keaton in your freaking Flash movie? I also think that if people are paying attention, it's possible that people won't be as excited about that just because they already know that Keaton's going to be in another movie that has Bat in the title. I'm not saying they'll skip Flash because of that, but you don't know for sure that you... I mean, I think this is an important thing to note, and we've never brought this up. I'm really glad that you got me to this place, DJ, because I didn't think about this until just now. You don't know if you will ever see Garfield or Maguire play Spider-Man again, and that's why that movie has made $1.7 bazillion, right? Like, people were just really stoked to get to see that. I mean, I hear this a lot, right? Even if it's not good, even if it's gimmicky, even if it's crammed in, it's just fan service, I just have to see this actor play my favorite character one more time. We already know Keaton's doing it at least 2 more times. So, like, this is not history-making. Like, or at least it's not as history-making. A, because Spider-Man just did it, but 2, because the, we're going to get it in a Batgirl movie where he is, I would imagine, going to get more screen time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Why couldn't we have just waited until that?
Yeah, the whole, like...
Having not seen what exactly they're doing with it. Maybe they feel like they need... You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried they're going to spend a bunch of time explaining what a multiverse is. Well, after Spider-Man just did a movie and didn't feel the need to really tell you how it works at all, and also clearly doesn't know how it works.
No, because they made the movie like after Flash was done and finished it before Flash was done. Flash was written a long time ago when they probably felt like they had to explain this more. But yeah, people like, yeah, the fact that it's not a Batman movie it is probably going to be like some of the weirdness because like people were posting in Discord, like they've heard on social media, people asking for a Hulkverse movie now. Like people just want all of them, all of the Hulks and all of the characters in one movie. Like if it was all the Batman, it is kind of weird that it's all these different superhero things. And then one of them is just one that we knew before. And yeah, it's a little weird.
And also, so far, it's not like Crisis with CW where we have multiple franchises we've been told about. If it turns out that they're doing that, and they go, okay, we've got Michael Keaton's Batman, but we've also got these other DC things from other franchises with actors that you haven't seen play these characters in forever. You know, Linda Carter puts on a Wonder Woman suit or whatever. Then maybe, I'm not saying that necessarily draws a lot of butts and seats, but I'm just saying that, like, if they do several of them, and I don't necessarily want that, but if they do several of them, maybe that's a bigger deal, but just, we're getting our feet wet in it where Michael Keaton is making an appearance, and maybe he's in a lot of that movie, nobody really knows, but it's Flash with a character that a lot of people that will be excited about Michael Keaton putting the suit on again didn't like in Justice League. Yeah.
It's interesting how it all wound up. It's very strange.
Gregory Davison makes a good point. I don't know if the general audience cares about Keaton returning as Batman. I love Keaton, but even I'm not that hyped. It is different than the Spider-Man thing because we've spent a lot longer just being used to not only the idea of Keaton never coming back as that character again, but with other, to a lot of people, arguably more definitive versions of Batman.
Yeah, it's like if Andrew Garfield was like the definitive Spider-Man after Tobey, right? Like Christopher Nolan is, and Christian Bale is most, not most, but maybe most, a lot of people's definitive version of Batman.
I feel like for the generation after mine, Bale coming back would be a way bigger deal.
Yes, but that would make...
No, I don't
Christopher
want
Nolan's
that.
crossing over would be the weirdest thing in the entire world.
But
the most serious...
Just superficially, that would be a bigger deal, but I mean...
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
But yeah, your analogy is absolutely right. Nolan came in and did, for a lot of people, the definitive version of that character, and the reason Spider-Man was a big deal for so many people, and arguably the biggest reason it made so much money, was because a lot of people's definitive Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire, and they didn't get to, in their minds, get to see that franchise end properly, and they just really miss him because they've been having to watch these other Spider-Mans that they've not connected with. And I don't know that you get that as much with Keaton and Batman. In a really weird way, if this was a few years ago and he was still alive, Adam West coming back putting on a batsuit would be a bigger deal for more people, I think. Just because it's such a different version of that character that was definitive for a lot of people. Like, I don't want to diminish how big of a deal 89 was. You guys all know how much I love that movie, and I'm a big collector of that movie, and I think aesthetically it's kind of my favorite version. But I don't know that people connected with the character as much as they connected with the aesthetic and the tone and just the historical importance of, like, bringing Batman serious again and legitimizing the superhero film to some degree past Superman.
Yeah, and the other thing that you have that you didn't have in Spider-Man is there's only 2 other Spider-Men. Like, the fact that even in that one franchise, Batman changed 3 times, and then we got Christopher Nolan. Like, not saying those are anyone's definitive versions, but just seeing other actors, it was more like a James Bond thing than Spider-Man was. So it kept changing. People weren't thinking of Batman like as Keaton. They were thinking of it like as a character that you play.
That's a great point, because it kept changing inside of the same franchise. Like, we rebooted Spider-Man really fast and arguably too fast twice in the same decade, but it was always a different continuity.
Yeah. And felt very different, especially MCU.
Mm-hmm. No, great points. I don't know, like,
interesting.
I just think a lot of people, even if Tobey Maguire wasn't their favorite version of Spider-Man, ended up going to see that movie just because of the historical precedent it set, because that thing had just never been done on film before. And now that it has, like, I think that is the big thing that Flash with Michael Keaton's Batman would have had, is we've never done the shared multiverse thing. And if they had beat Marvel to that, more people would have gone just out of morbid curiosity. But it's happened now. It's done. It would be like if DC got Justice League out before Avengers, it would have that feather in its cap, and Avengers might not have been as big of a deal. Or maybe it would have. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, we'll never know now.
But if it was, it would have been because everybody loved those characters and wanted to see them all in a movie together, not because we've never had all these individual superhero movies and then we bring them all together. And there's a difference, and that matters, I think.
All right. Well, so we got one more from Bob the Hunt about Star Wars. Disney Star Wars is at its best when pulling from EU. That's what works about Mandalorian.
Yeah.
When it tries to do its own thing, it sucks. Generic crap.
Well, and I've not looked at enough EU to know exactly the difference, and I'm sure, the super fans of Star Wars have a different perspective. I mean, obviously have a different perspective where they're probably a lot more critical of some of that stuff than I am. By and large, I've really enjoyed that show. I think there have been some interlude episodes that were pretty throwaway that I didn't necessarily need, and that were kind of more substance, or more style over substance. But
and then we have one final super chat from Batman Rocks.
Okay.
I find the uproar about the Batman Begins PG-13 being PG-13 insane. People forget that Dark Knight had that rating and told a complex character and thematic story. Sorry, he said the Batman being PG-13 insane.
Not The Batman Begins.
People forget that Dark Knight had that rating and told a complex character and thematic story and was horrifying, I'll add, to his super chat.
Yeah. But I also get where people are coming from. I if I had made a bet, I would have lost the bet on this. I really thought that movie was likely going to get an R rating. I thought, especially the initial couple of trailers looked pretty dark and pretty rough and tumble, and that it was unlikely that they were getting a PG-13. Mostly because I thought they were going after an R. I thought they wanted to do not in the same way, of course, but I thought they wanted to do the Joaquin Phoenix Joker thing, where it's for an adult audience and let's leave the kids out of it. I'm more concerned even than I was with Dark Knight and with Rises now, having seen the previews for that movie, that it being PG-13, we're going to once again, with merchandising and figures and coloring books and Lego sets and stuff, sell it to the little children, and it's going to very much not be for them and will give them freaking nightmares, and that stuff is all coming out for this. I've already seen the Lego sets, and I'm like,
wow.
I mean, I'm not saying that you can't sell Lego sets mostly just to adults, but they're clearly not doing that. I mean, it's going to have a toy line for children, and I'm sure. I'll be really surprised if it... And I'll be really surprised if it doesn't have early reader storybooks where they have to avoid all of the substance of the story because it's way too adult in theme for children.
Wow. See, I didn't even think about that because I didn't even know that stuff was happening, but I can't wait to see the Zodiac Killer Riddler in Lego form.
Yeah, exactly.
Animal form.
The reason I wish it was getting an R is so that we wouldn't be once again, like with BVS, confused about whether or not we were supposed to take our kids to it and whether it was a family film. Say whatever you want to about the MCU, arguably every one of those movies, at least past 9 or 10, everybody can take their whole family to them. And I'm not saying Batman movies have to be that way. I'm saying that if you make it PG-13 like all the Marvel movies, your 80-year-old grandmother is going to assume that she can take her 6-year-old kids to it. And that may not be the case. And DJ, I'll be very surprised if it isn't the case. Like, when you say that Dark Knight is really rough and in some places kind of horrifying, yeah, I think this is going to be that way in a different way. I think that you're going to have horror vibes that those movies don't have, and that those will, to some degree, look tame in comparison. Because I think, and I'm just saying that based on on the trailers and what we've seen so far. It might be that I'm totally off on this, and that's just kind of how the movie has been sold. But I don't know, it looks stylistically a lot more early Miller and a lot more just, horror inspired in general, which is great for Batman. I think we haven't had that yet. I'm excited about that. But I don't think, if people are worried about the PG-13 because they're afraid that it's not going to be allowed to tell a deep and meaningful story, or that it's being too censored or whatever, I would withhold judgment till we see it, because despite what I just said, Dark Knight and Rises both got away with plenty over a PG-13 rating, I think. But I am standing by what I said. Even Begins, but especially Dark Knight and Rises, made 89 look tame in comparison. Where when that movie came out, it was like, oh, finally Dark Batman. You don't hear anybody call 89 Dark Batman anymore, and there's some dark stuff in that movie, inarguably dark, whether it actually bothers you or you think it's scary or anything. The Joker murdering a guy with a hand buzzer and then saying I'm glad you're dead. That's it's funny, but I don't know, on paper it's dark. I don't know.
To me, it's the girlfriend's face.
Yeah, that too.
That must have been shocking at the time. I mean, we've got desensitized over the years, but
absolutely, yeah. Well, and you're right. A lot of this does have to do with desensitization, but little kids aren't desensitized yet. A lot of them. But so I'm just saying, I'm thinking that this movie is likely to make the Nolan trilogy look tame in comparison, the same way that those movies made 89 look. even under a PG-13 rating, because you can get away with a lot more with that rating than you could even 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, you literally don't show all the blood or say certain words. Like,
yeah.
And like we're okay with pretty much the same amount of violence as long as you don't show it, or like show it very specifically. Like, yeah, I think they can get around it just fine. I don't think Matt Reeves is going to be hindered. I mean, his Apes movies are pretty dark, very serious, very good movies, and they're PG-13. I'm not worried about it, but yeah, I wasn't thinking about it from you, like thinking about the kid thing. I was just thinking about it from the movie itself. I don't think the movie's going to be in trouble.
No, yeah, I'm not worried about that for the movie at all.
Yeah. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that parents take their kids to movies that they have no idea what it is. Like, I can't understand that. Like, but that's just the kind of parent I am, I guess. But like, yeah, just like, oh, it's a superhero. Let's go take him. Like, or better yet, just let's drop him off in the theater and go get some shopping done or something. It's ridiculous.
Bob the Hun, that's a great point. He says you take the blood out of Netflix Daredevil and it's PG-13.
Probably. That probably would get... I'm trying to think if the
with
door
maybe the exception of a couple of Kingpin scenes. Like, because I still don't think, even if you cut away from more than it cuts away from, I'm still not totally sure you get the Kingpin father death scene in a PG-13 movie. That
was the first thing I went to. Yeah, the hammering. Because you still got the sound and the... Because it doesn't even show it. But it's still... Ugh.
Matale, Cap, are you... Oh, this is a great question. Are you nervous about kids wanting to watch Netflix Daredevil after No Way Home? Ooh. No, not so much, just because he's in one little scene, and I think a lot of kids, unless they have parents that are, like, intentionally educating, okay, kid, that's Daredevil, and he was in a Netflix show. I don't know that a lot of kids are even going to know who that is, and, like, probably savvy enough to go... Oh, okay, he's got superpowers, they're going to do something with that guy later on. But I don't think that one scene would be enough to make kids curious enough to go, oh, I'm a huge Daredevil fan now because of that one scene with the blind lawyer who caught a brick. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I do think when he shows up in costume anywhere, that will happen.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Because, yeah, the way that scene plays, it could just be like a... If there wasn't a Daredevil show, that scene could have played the exact same way, and it would have just been like, oh, there's another hero that's coming soon. Like, because Marvel does that a lot. Like, they drop heroes before they eventually come. So I see what you're saying about that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. How far do you think they're probably going to diverge a lot from that Netflix suit, I would think.
Yeah. They'll do something more colorful. They'll do something that looks more traditionally comic book. And I like the Netflix suit for that show. I think it's practical. It was the right way to go. I am excited to see something more off the page with it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Tony Stark will make him a suit with like tech in it that makes him see.
He'll get the Tony Stark glasses and he'll be like, I can't look the heads-up display. I'm blind. He's like, okay, I've got this thing I can put on my face, and it's got voice recognition. I can tell it to do things. I guess I could use it like that.
They're not going to do what they should do and give him the yellow outfit.
That's what they should... You know what? There's a part of me that wants to take a bet with you on that.
Oh.
There's a part of me that wants to take a bet that they do a proto suit that's yellow.
Yeah.
And it's in a scene or two scenes where they do it like the Raimi, goofy Spider-Man suit where he puts that on to go wrestling and then he goes out with it for a while and then eventually he somehow has enough money to make a, $500,000 Spider-Man suit. Daredevil, I think... it's really likely that because MCU loves to go back and do the earliest goofy stuff that everybody knows as like a nod and a wink to Stan Lee. The fact that the yellow suit is Stan Lee is enough to make me think that there's a likelihood that we'll see it as a nod, where they'll do the thing where he makes
like the Luke Cage thing in the show where he gets the the things on his wrist for a second and on his head.
I think they'll go farther than that. If they do it. I mean, I'm not predicting this is definitely what, but I could see it. I could see them doing one scene where, if they made an origin movie or like a flashback or something, where, because remember Jessica Jones had that too, where like she used to be in a costume and they showed it in one scene. It was like an old costume from the comics.
Yeah.
But I just remembered that. But anyway, couldn't you see, though, they're having him make a suit? He goes out with it one time and everybody makes fun of him and he's like, I'm blind, I didn't even know what color it was. Oh, it's yellow? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would love them to be, I would love like some kids on the street to be like, devils are red, you moron!
And that actually could be great. But see,
yeah,
that's an example where the MCU kind of humor totally works. Like, that could be really fun. I like that.
But sometimes they do that and it's really lame, like in WandaVision, where they just did the suits, but they were just dressed up like a witch and like there was Halloween costumes that had nothing to do with anything, but they just put them in there that looked kind of like their old costumes. So I would want to see that with them. Anyway, we got 2 super chats while we were blabbing on.
Absolutely. Well, we're past 2 hours, so let's go ahead and knock these out and then try to call it a night if we can.
Yes, let's do that. John Ty. Does it suck? A lot of people making me say suck tonight. I like it. Does it suck that the only Flash story everyone knows is Flashpoint? Flash isn't like Batman, where people can pull multiple famous standalone stories.
I guess, but I would make the argument that a lot of that has to do more with the popularity or lack thereof of the character outside of TV and movie media. Because you could have made the same case about Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and a lot of other characters that have gone to screen in the last 10 or 20 years. Would you agree with that, DJ? I mean, like, there's a lot of people that aren't big into comics that... I feel like Batman comics are kind of like Harry Potter, where it's like the only literature that a lot of people have ever bothered cracking open is Harry Potter. And a lot of the only comics that anybody ever bothered cracking open were Batman. It's like people, loved Batman movies, loved animated series, and were like, I want to know what the big major stories are so that I can call myself a Batman fan more. And they'll just hear people talk about the 3 or 4 big main stories and they've never read them, but they talk about them like they do. We've all met this guy, right? Where it's like, yeah, Hush, that's a big, Dark Knight Returns, et cetera, et cetera. Killing Joke, I think like 2 out of every 10 people that talk about Killing Joke have never read Killing Joke. But I hear what you're saying. Like, if you're a big Flash fan and all you ever hear about is people talking about is Flashpoint as if Flash has no other stories, yes, that sucks. But I'm just suggesting that there are plenty of other characters that have that same problem, because it's more about the popularity of that character in comics relative to Batman with people that don't tend to read a lot of comics. And also, I think that's, to be fair, I think a lot of that is people that were never into Flash that read Flashpoint because it was a big DC event. In the same way that people that didn't care about Green Lantern read Blackest Night, right? Like, you can make the same argument with Green Lantern, where a lot of people, the only Green Lantern story they could tell you is probably Blackest Night or like Green Lantern War or whatever that was called, stuff like that. Like, just big events that were, that one less so, but big events that affected the continuity and stuff. Like, we knew that we were coming up to New 52 and that they were doing a whole reboot and relaunch, and so everybody and his dog read Flashpoint. That book also was more known for the big thing they did with Batman than it was for Flash, which is part of what made them think, what I imagine is why they thought of Keaton, right? They probably went and looked at that material, and they were like, this Thomas Wayne thing, that was a big deal. That looks exciting. We could do that. You know what we could do? We could go talk to Michael Keaton and bring him back. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as what would happen with, like, BVS, where it's like, we're trying to figure out a cool Superman sequel. What can we do with that? Oh, we can add Batman! It's the same thing they're doing with Flash. I also don't know just how derived from Flashpoint that whole thing is going to be. I mean, Ezra Miller's making a big deal out of they're not changing anything, but we know that it sounds like it, if I remember reading this correctly, that it is him trying to save his mom in the past and all of that. I think that happens. But yeah, I mean, somebody else in the comments made a good point where they said that most of the Flash stories that people actually care about are Wally West stories and not Bart and not Barry Allen, which is part of the reason that the fact that people can only name Flashpoint as a Flash story is that. And also, a lot of the big Flash stories that Flash fans like aren't big events or singular or like graphic novels and things like with Batman. It's more like big runs. You know, it's like there are stories that I'm sure Flash fans can name in the Wade run, but when people talk about Wade's Flash, they tend to go, that run is good. Kind of like with Simonson, where it's like you don't name the story. You know, like my favorite Thor story is Beta Ray Bill. No, it's Simonson's run. So I think that's part of it too.
Well, speaking of runs, sir, Carl Maxey wants to know, do you think it's lame?
Speaking of runs, DJ needs to leave.
Wow, that was a place you don't usually go on this channel.
You know, it was more of a double entendre, because I could have just been saying you have to run.
That's true. That's
away.
True. But that's as we learned earlier, the runs is a regional colloquial saying.
Not one of my favorites, to be sure.
But Carl Maxey wants to know, do you think it's lame to give comic characters a run only because of a movie? Like when the Batman movie comes out, there's going to be tons of Riddler comics.
Yeah, that is irritating, and a lot of the time that kind of stuff's not very good. At the same time, unfortunately, we're in an age right now and have been for a while where it feels like comics are kind of more about selling movies than they are about telling their own stories. And I'm not saying there's nothing good going on in comics. I'm out of touch right now. I'm not reading new at all at the moment. I'm not boycotting it. I just haven't been interested enough to do that, and I haven't had time.
Oh, you should. That'd be a good clickbaity title. Cat boycotts comics.
I've been, but just for the one video. You have legs with it after that.
No, you have to be generic to bring in the new viewers. Longtime comic fan, lifetime comic fan, boycotts comics. And you're on the front like, making a stupid, angry YouTube face. I hate YouTube thumbnails.
I don't know why you phrased it like an article in the New York Times in the 1950s, but yeah, and like I've been wanting to dip my toes back in again, and I'm kicking around doing that when I have time. But I digress. There's lots of examples of that happening, being irritating. Where we'll take, and not just movies that are coming out, but things that we know are going to happen eventually, that we're trying to train the readers to want and get excited about going and seeing, which I always thought is dumb, because they're the people that are going to go anyway, like regardless of what it is, especially if it's MCU. Like your comic readers, most of those people are going to every Marvel movie no matter what it is you make. So and I know this is from years ago, we're not doing this anymore, thank God, but you don't have to like force in the Inhumans in like everything, because eventually you're going to make an Inhumans movie. And that was a bad idea, because then we didn't make that movie, and it was a crappy TV show that nobody watched instead, and we replaced the X-Men in the comics with them, more or less, or at least the Inhumans were in freaking everything X-Men, because we're all, well, we don't want Fox to make any money with X-Men anymore, and we're having to use the Inhumans like the X-Men, so we'll just train our readers to care more about Inhumans. Yeah, that didn't work. That's just one of many examples.
I think what their goal is, or what they're hoping, is that, like what we talked about earlier, when I watched Captain America in the films, I was like, oh, I like this character, I want to go read more about him. And then you'll see, like, oh, the big event right now is a Captain America event. I think that's what they're trying to do. I don't know how that works. I don't know if people were like, oh, an Ultron movie, I love Ultron, let me go, well, it especially didn't work with that one because nobody liked that movie, but let me go read the Age of Ultron event that's going on right now. But I think that's what they're trying to do. It's
weird though, because in some of that, a little bit of corporate synergy makes sense to me, to play devil's advocate for a minute, or maybe it's better to say that like I empathize to some degree with the business side of this, where it's like, well, let's line things up a little bit, and it's a chicken and the egg question. It's like, are we putting those books out with these characters that we're trying to sell really hard because we hope that it'll help sell the movies, or are we hoping that the movies are creating interest in a thing that we can then sell on the comic side? Like, is the comics advertising, or is it supply and demand? Are we just giving an audience something that we think they want, or we're training them to want? Like, which exactly is it? And I think it's been different back and forth. Who was and I mean, it was Bendis and it was a good book, but like, who was the Defenders book for when Defenders came out? You know? Like, I don't know that anybody was watching that TV show and then, like, I want to read this book that's, like, the culmination of the history of the major street-level comic characters that Bendis wrote. Like, I don't know. I think that was supposed to be more, well, people are reading comics and they're watching the show, so they'll, I don't know, it's in the ether right now. They'll look at it, I guess. I don't know. I don't fully understand the marketing strategy of some of that stuff.
Yeah. I want a real Defenders. Like, Namor, Hulk, Silver Surfer, and Doctor Strange. Make that movie. That sounds amazing.
Well, then you do things like, if you do Guardians of the Galaxy, the book can't be too many other characters besides the ones we put in the movie. And we have to kind of retool certain characters to be more like they are in the movies. And we have to use, there's a thing Eric always complained about, we have to use the mask from the movie and make the suit look like that. And we can't do, you know, the traditional suit anymore because it looked like that now. Yeah, and that sort of thing.
It's funny because that's such a not iconic look. Like it's just like a jacket and a regular looking mask on it. It's really weird seeing that in comics.
That, I would think, maybe this is just my own sensibilities, I would think that people, and again, maybe it's not about new readers, but it always feels like they think they can pull in new people that aren't reading comics currently. For the rare times that actually works, if it were me, I feel like I would be disappointed to go to a movie and be curious about the source material, and then find that they've changed the source material to match the thing that I just saw. Like, I wanted to see where it came from in the first place. Oh, I guess I just have to go buy old trades and stuff. I can't, like, see, hey, wait, how is this? Because I think more people than me think this way. How has this character evolved? What's it like now? It can't be just like this movie because they had to introduce it to me. So I'm curious to see where it is now. Oh, you've gutted it and changed it to be just this thing I just saw. Okay, that's not interesting. And then you feel like you're being sold to.
Yeah. Wow, where did we start with that? I don't even know where that
do not entirely remember.
Oh, Carl Maxey's question about Riddler comics after the Batman. Yes.
Have we been talking about that for this long? Okay. Yeah. Is there one more?
There are, well, technically two, but this one's just a joke from John Kelling. He says, DJ, say suck one more time. Good night, everybody. I've done it. There it is.
He needs a shirt that just says suck. Not even you suck, not even this sucks, just suck.
All right, guys. That was my last suck of the evening. We're going to go on to Bob the Hun.
Oh, it wasn't? That was.
$5. Yes, I did get it, Bob the Hun. I'm reading it right now. Fun fact, David Goyer wrote a Flash script with Ryan Reynolds as Wally West. Finds out his uncle was Flash after he died. This was 2006. Not kidding.
I don't know if I knew that or not. I don't remember. Goyer was attached to a lot of different random projects. I may have heard that one time. I don't remember that. Wow. That's interesting. I've been wanting to do more old film scripts, superhero film scripts, and I mean, like, unmade things. And I've done a couple things here and there, and this comes up occasionally where I'm like, I really want to do more of these. And I still haven't done much of it. I was reading Justice League Mortal for a while when the Snyder Cut came out. I think a couple other channels also reviewed that. And I got 20, 30 pages in, and then life happened, and I didn't finish it. And it was interesting. I wanted to talk about it, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So, yeah. I mean, I'd like to do that at some point. I'd like to do that old Supermax Green Arrow movie. I'd like to finally fully read Superman Lives and cover that. I mean, a lot of this is stuff that YouTube has covered quite a bit, but I'd love to weigh in on some of it at some point as off-the-cuff rewinds, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wow, 2006. So that was right after Blade Trinity when he had worked with Ryan Reynolds on that film.
Oh yeah, I guess it would have been.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In the Dark Ages, when we didn't think that he would ever get to play Deadpool.
Yeah.
Or
and then
be his own movie as Deadpool, I guess.
I'm trying to picture him. He would actually make sense as Flash. More so than Green Lantern. I don't know Wally West very much, but...
I don't see him as Wally West at all, actually.
Yeah, I forgot it was Wally West. I don't know that character.
Wally West just straight... I don't know. He doesn't have the right build, and he's traditionally younger than even Reynolds was at that time, I think, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe Ryan Reynolds would have skinnied up for the role. That doesn't happen very often.
And Ryan Reynolds is Tim Drake.
That's
what that sounds like to me.
That's all we got. That's it. That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. Okay, well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys coming in and participating for the Captain Logan show this evening. Hope you enjoyed it. A lot of a nice eclectic assortment again of questions, and I still can't believe that the show remains viable and that you guys come in and pop in every week and bring such thoughtful questions and make it possible for us to, here in just a few weeks, get to episode 200 of whatever this insanity is. We'll do something cool for you. I don't know what that is yet.
We're gonna be shooting live from the Empire State Building. Cap and I are both gonna get tickets. We'll meet there.
I think we should do something more realistic. I think we should do a live show while I'm being tattooed again. I think maybe that's what. No, I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding.
I'm just gonna get Eric's face tattooed on his back.
I need people to stop saying that. It's not going to happen. Okay, just get it out of your head. Because I think people are starting to get serious about it, and I'm not. Like, it was an amusing joke, but I'm not doing that.
Episode 200. We're gonna record it while skydiving, going live from the plane.
Well, we can't get 2 hours out of that, is the thing. Most of that show is going to be us on the ground. I can't hear anything!
Yeah, well, we wouldn't be able to hear in the plane. We wouldn't be able to hear while we're falling, so the show wouldn't even start until we were on the ground.
Or, like, after the parachutes have been pulled.
Yeah. And
then, like, as we're coming to the ground, it's very peaceful until you just hear me yelling over to DJ, "Hey, DJ, do we have any super chats?" What?
We'd be so far from
We'd be so far away?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Hey, Cap, I forgot my GoPro! I haven't gotten any of this! And I don't have any bars on my phone!
Oh, man. That would be the word. Hey, that would be the video that gets 0 views. No, it wouldn't, because it would be clickable.
That would be the video that got a lot of views with a lot of thumbs down that, happily, nobody would be able to see.
Yeah, it would just be comments like, "I can't hear anything past," and then they put the timestamp.
This is experimental nonsense.
We'll do something cool. We'll think about it. We'll talk about it.
We got 10 shows, man. We got at least 10 weeks to think about it.
200 episodes. Whatever we do, it's not going to be as cool as it deserves to be, because that is amazing. Thank you guys for keeping this going.
A lot of shows. Yeah, and I mean, that's more of an achievement for you guys than it is for me, I think. I just sit here. I just show up.
Yeah, you guys come up with the awesome questions. There's a lot of good GNN topics tonight. I loved it.
Yeah, great. I thought so too. Like I said, nice assortment, a lot of different things. So anyway, thanks once again for being here. We'll see you again real soon. Join Austin and I tomorrow night, if you dare, for some blind episodes of Legends of Tomorrow. I've not watched that show in years. I have no idea what it's going to look like. We're going to jump in with both feet into the deep end of the pool and watch recent episodes. We're just going to pick some random stuff for the most recent episode, or the most recent season on Netflix, and just see what that show looks like now. And then Sunday night, I'm planning, at the moment, tentatively, because I've got another full weekend, and it's going to be hard to work in. I still have not had a chance to rewatch the Matrix, the new Matrix. But I'm hoping to do a show Sunday night on that, finally. And somebody mentioned earlier that Connor's jumping off the internet for a while, but he wants to come back to do just that before that happens, and I'm going to try really hard to make that work out. So anyway, I will see you guys real soon. Thanks for being here. I hope you had fun. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan. And that was DJ Martinez. Later,
and folks. I'm the co-host that doesn't announce myself, so thank you for doing it.
I forgot we don't do that anymore. Bye, everybody!